Good evening and welcome to round number 5 of the ASR Supercars Championship from Hidden Valley Raceway up in the Northern Territory. Once again, joining me in the commentary box is Benjamin Rhodes, and of course, I am Lewis Wording. Rhodey, how's it going, mate? And what have you seen from practice that's caught your eye?
Hey Lewis, good to be back again. Yeah, it's been the same period as it has every time, 3 weeks. For some reason, it feels a lot longer with a very quiet week for ASR. Last week, it feels very different in comparison to where we were 3 weeks ago. But no, I've been keeping an eye on just the back end of practice and a couple of new guys in the field, and one of them currently sits on pole position.
Yeah, of course, just it was the practice session, not the qualifying, so it won't be outright pole, but certainly in the pole position from practice, a very quick and handy 105.1, which he set towards the back end of the session. That, of course, being Damon Woods just ahead of Dane Ricardo, also setting a 105.1 at the end of that session. They're a good half a second clear of Cheese and our championship leader Darren Kemp and Termo rounding out the top 5 there. So front two a little bit of ways ahead, but after that, it looks very, very close, Rhodey.
Yeah, I think we've got a couple of guys missing as well. I know Nathan Higginson was here practicing, but I can't see him in the server currently. I think a couple of guys maybe just dropping out and coming back in to pick up some new tires as they get underway. A lot of guys putting in a lot of practice for this round, and it's a good track. You and I both raced here early this week, and I think we both had pretty good results. I only got killed by a teammate once, and you didn't get killed at all. So yeah, that's for the both of us there. But no, great little track, Hidden Valley Raceway. Favorite of one of my teammates, Scott Murrell. But no. I love racing at this place, and hopefully all the guys in the field have some similar feelings about it too.
Well, going from what I heard in the Discord before, I don't think Nathan Higginson's having a particularly good time out there at the moment. The curbs around this circuit, as what we found out earlier in the week, and those that have driven this circuit, this iteration in the past will know that the curbs in these cars are actually quite vicious. They're not the highest curbs that you'll see going around, but just the shape of them and these cars can pose a bit of a problem, which unfortunately for Nathan Higginson looks like he's been struggling with all week.
Yeah. He goes. He got no shortage of exuberance for the racing. But as we've seen already this season, he's starting to develop a bit of a. I think I've described it previously as a bit of get there itis and that sort of a trait. And it properly harnessed, it can do you good, or it can at least not be such a negative thing to deal with. But Nathan, yeah, just throwing a bit too much into the car at times. He also raced this earlier in the week, and a couple of guys saw him very, very sideways at points around this track. So if I've said all this throughout the season, trying to help him out. But if he can channel some of that energy and keep himself reserved in his driving approach, that he's not pushing out those 10 tenths the entire time, then he could be up there, and he knows he's got speed. So yeah, hopefully fortune starts to turn around for Higo in this race.
Yeah, so it looks like we have ticked over to the qualifying session, but I think he was saying, and I was watching him, he didn't look like he was actually overdriving the car. I think it might just be a lack of seat time. I know he's been quite busy. He's had a recent hard drive failure, unfortunately, and he's actually lost a bit of work that he was doing with some of the stuff for ASR. So he's been a bit stressed out and busy sorting that stuff out instead of practicing both for ASC, well, not so much ASC because it happened after that, but certainly for this event here in the ASR Super 2. So he's been, well, a bit underdone, and of course, with the lack of changes you can throw at a car in the ASR Super 2 Championship, where the only things you can change really, I believe, the brake bias and the steering lock on the setup page outside of pit stop options. It can be, and steering lock too, I think, is another one, and rotation. But outside of that, I mean, if you are behind the 8 ball, it can be quite difficult to call back, Rudy.
Yeah, so like we were having a conversation earlier during practice. I was having a chat with Matt Cecil, and he was talking about how previously when he'd raced Dane Ricardo here in another league race, that he was only, I think he was either ahead, if not only a couple of tenths behind, and I think we've lost the times now as we've restarted the server, and now we're into qualifying for the second time. But Matt was I think something like the second, possibly back on Dane in practice. But and part of that is because there is no setup options, and sometimes the car base setup works for you, and sometimes it really doesn't, and you've just got to learn to adapt to it. So and that's it's a double-edged sword, but it means that it is easier for you to just get in and practice because the car will be the car, no matter how much practice you put into it.
Now, they can make changes on the fly, so if you do have the roll bars, the adjustable roll bar buttons set, you can change them, but of course, once you go back to the pits, it resets itself. So that's something that these guys can do to sort of fix any issues they may have with the car, but anyway, you better get out of setup talk, Brody, because here we are for qualifying, and Daniel Cox here, one of the championship protagonists, is going to be the first man out to set a lap, so he'll be looking to improve the times he's been setting in practice, where if I have a look, I'm just looking at live races, I'm looking quite a bit for him down in P5 there. So usually he's hovering in the top 3, but he's finds himself half a second off after the last practice session there.
Yeah, and part of what will help that with the displacement is obviously the new guys jumping in. Damon, we mentioned earlier. The other one, Xavier Kokai, actually didn't displace. Didn't end up displacing Daniel. He ended up finishing 10th or 9th or 10th in that practice session, but it looks like a good pace on board as well. But here comes Coxie to start his first lap of qualifying.
Yes, and here we are, long run into turn 1, running parallel to the drag strip on the left, making it about 150 metres for turn number 1. And some drivers hug the inside line, some take a bit of a double apex through turn number 1, but he's through there nicely. This next little section here can be a little bit awkward once your tyres get a little bit worn out, and then the exit of this corner here, this right-hander, the track does fall away, particularly on that tarmac on the exit. And now for one of these slower corners in supercars, this left-hand hairpin, and it's been a solid banker lap so far. Approaches the second split line. I'm going to have to update my AMS there, so it does show the live timing when we are on board. 45.2. Of course, that's no meaning at the moment at the second split line, but a little bit further down we do have Ricardo going purple so far, with actually Damon Woods now going through the first sector and going purple there. So Coxie will be the first across the line, a 6.0, so a little bit off his fastest practice time, but he'll certainly be looking to improve. And Ricardo immediately at 105.6. And then we have Kemp third, Cheese, Higginson, and Freakish. Let's jump ahead here. Cox up by 1/10 of a second at the second split as he comes out of the final corner. And lights ablaze. Going to try and sneak a bit of slip off the EGR team Penske just in front of him. And a 105.3. That is an impressive lap time, Rody. That is outside of the time he set in practice and Dane's time that he set in practice. That's the third fastest time that we've seen.
So we're interested to see as well some of the new guys as well, whether they've actually had a full look at how the racing works out here as where the tyre strategy sits. And we're always trying to guess who's qualifying on what tyre in the qualifying sessions. We normally end up off by a couple of cars. Hard to make a judgment at this stage, but I'd say looking at that time, he's only 2/10 off of the best time he's set in practice. So I'd suggest Damon out there on the softs. Same with, I feel, Dane. He's got competition now for outright pace, and I don't think he's going to take out every opportunity he can to try and be up to the pace, if not quicker than Damon. Braxton did jump up into third there as well, just as you're going through the realistic cars. Steve Warwick up to 6th, Typhane into 7th. Nathan Higginson trying to sing inside the top 10.
Yeah, so Damon was on a faster first sector, but of course came across the two DJR Team Penske cars in front of him. Going back to Ricardo, he's up on his own time, but he's still actually quite a ways down in the first split here. And in fact, on his last lap was a little bit better. So as he comes across one of the raised Commodores there. So we'll see how he goes to the second split. Just having a look up and down at live race at the moment. It looks like to be working. And that middle sector much better this time around. But, of course, he's not got a car in front of him just to help him with a little bit of slipstream to the line here. So I think Dane just going to fall short here, but it's going to improve by a considerable amount if he can just put the last sector together, which he does.
So 105.484, which is still 3/10 off of his best time in practice. But that was obviously with part of the thing we're going to see here actually is that because of the server reset, the track rubber is gone. There is still, I believe, heavy rubber as a base value on the track as the highest you can set as a preset, but that hour of rubber laying that the cars did during practice is all wiped out. So we're going to see a bit of a deficit from the times. And I think you might see people pushing a little too hard in this session for thinking that they can maybe make up that time, but they won't be able to. But so I reckon probably where Dame and Dane are currently sitting is about the point of the pass that he'll probably go with the current track conditions.
To be fair, I think this is one of those circuits that the track rubber actually doesn't get affected by that kind of server settings. So it's not one of the Patrick tracks where rubber is simulated. We've got a car parked next to the final corner, so Nissan there, and it's She's the third fastest time overall out of all the practice sessions, so he's a little ways off there. He improves on his own time there, but he certainly would have been balked at the last corner there. So we've got a shenanigans in to turn on with boards all over the place.
Yeah, I might actually have to see if I can dig back and find who that was. No, that was, I'm guessing, potentially someone just trying to do the polite thing and give the driver on the straight the room to have a run at the first car. I just heard a crash somewhere as well on the front straight. I'm not sure what that was.
I believe that was a Lockheed Lock in the DGR Team Penske car. Just driving into the fence there. I'm not sure what that was about. But a little bit of stuff in the live chat there with... was Colin Warwick. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit better than what you were earlier in the week. And yeah, Steve did a great job in ASR Super 2. And here's another one that's fairly quick in practice as well, so expect him to find a couple extra tenths. So we look at Termo now on an outlap by the look of it. But yeah, none of these guys are already... Well, some people have gotten close to their personal best, but there's a number of guys out there that are actually quite a way off their personal best.
Yeah, and so track conditioning was part of that. And there are some drivers as well that have the pace just out there ready to go. They can flick it on like a switch and away they go. Some drivers you need to start getting to the groove before you start to develop pace. And only some drivers that benefit not necessarily from the freshest of tyre that actually want a slightly roaded tyre. I know with some series I've run, I prefer to have a roaded tyre either at one end of the car or the other to actually get a better balance and a better field performance out of the car. So some drivers might be in the same position as well. But yeah, if the track rubber is simulated, that obviously play a part in it. But yeah, we got just under 2 minutes left in this session, so hopefully some of those guys that are the way off can start to chip away at that in the next lap or two.
Yeah, so just having a look up and down the field just to see how it's all going for a number of drivers. And we've got Josh Watson's gone out and improved 3/10 on his previous best. And got Aiden down there in 18th, Gary Neville in 19th. Walsh, of course, has got a qualifying ban and starting from the pit lane. Woods has improved by 0.003 of a second. Hundredth of a second, I should say, to 105.290. Yeah,
Dane for the first sector. Dane was up, but he's got a light on. Unfortunately, Gary Neville, I believe, is on a lap as well, so he isn't giving Dane the easy way through. Dane won't be happy, but if Gary is on a lap, Gary is entitled to the space as well, and Gary is on a lap at the moment, being down in 19th. He's probably hoping to have a little bit of a run. We'll slow them both down there, and actually, that's I think Daniel Cox has run wide in the background, but they've got Damon Woods coming up to the pair of them as well now.
Yeah, so at least on this next lap, Dane should have a clear run, but I are seeing just at the end of the pits there, a number of drivers are leaving the pit lane. So Dane won't improve on this lap. As that car that was actually in pits has gone straight back to the pits. And on that last lap, there's actually a purple middle sector for Damon Woods, but he's actually picked up a track cut by the look of it. No, he hasn't. He's actually lost time in the final sector, so there's more time in it for him. But he's going to have to contend with Gary Neville on this next lap. And he's not going to get enough... there's not enough time left for him to start another lap, so he's going to need to somehow find a way past Gary Neville without losing time and finding time himself if Dane does improve and sneak ahead. So, golden opportunity if Dane can put it all together here as Steve Warwick improves. So Ricardo now approaching the second split line, and he's up on his own time, but he's got to find quite a bit of time in the final sector here.
That's the end of Damon's run. Unfortunately, he caught the back of Gary Neville at a really bad spot through the last couple of corners and ended up out in the curb. So it is all for Dane to play for right now in qualifying.
And he doesn't improve. So Woods will at least hold on to Dane in this respect. But looking up and down the field at the moment, looks like most drivers have done.
The only other driver in the top 10 still doing a lap is Steve Warwick, and he is 6 cents down in his PB through the second sector, so I don't think he'll be improving.
Yeah, he's not improving at all. Got Taipan, he's on a lap as well. I think Coxie as well is out on the circuit. Justin Cecil's on the circuit. Matt Cecil's on the circuit. His lights are ablaze. And Matt Cecil just up on his own time. But both the Cecils now coming out of the final corner. Matt Cecil's very, very wide. He's knocked one of the boards and lucky not to hit the wall on the exit. But Justin to the line, he doesn't improve. Matt Cecil does not improve. And now we've got Taipan to the line. He is going back to the pits.
He was close to, he was over his PB but not far off, but he was only 0.033 off a freakish, but I'm guessing just didn't get the exit at the last corner that he was hoping for, and saw the red bar was not turning green at any point there, so just thought it was better to jump out as soon as possible rather than cross the line to get the same result anyway.
And that is it. And well, looking at all the times, of course, in this series, the drivers have to start the race on the same compound. It doesn't have to be the same tyre, the exact same tyre set, but it has to be the same compound set. There is a control tyre and a harder control tyre and a softer tyre. But looking at these lap times, looks like everybody out there on the soft tyre, which from what I've been hearing, Rody, may lead to the majority or everyone pitting. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know some drivers out there have been struggling on making the tyres last.
Yeah, I've heard suggestions, some drivers, that 2 pit stops might be required, which I don't know. It's we've seen with the drivers so far this year that making it that having tyre conservation is better than having pace on your tyre in the race formats we've had. So if they are running out and running on softs, so expect to see both the front runners, and actually one driver who we're not seeing tonight, who I was about to throw in that bucket is Lockie Burke, and I'm not sure where he's at tonight. He's previously only been able to make the back end of most race nights for the past little while, so we might see him pop up maybe for the second or third race. But he's been one of the guys pretty good in his tyres. So has Termo, and so has Daniel Cox. Another one also isn't here is Hans Brunswick. He's also great on his tyres. So it'll be interesting to see if we get those sort of same guys towards the front. I believe Kempy historically has been there or thereabouts as well. And whether it's a case of you can conserve, if it is a 2-stop race when you're really pushing it, if it is a 1-stop with conservation, or if no matter what you're still looking at a 2-stop, and then if that is the case, do people even try to conserve tyres, or is this just a flat out sprint for the entire length of the race?
Well, I couldn't imagine it being 2-stop. If it's 2-stop, you'd have to start on the hard tyres just to make it last, because 40 kilometres an hour in the pits and stopping twice for tyres, you're not going to make that time up in these shorter races. So it'd be a bit of a risky strategy. You might be able to pull it off in maybe a 40 lap race. I did try that at ASC and it didn't quite pan out, but I couldn't imagine it working in one of these short races. There's no way you'd make that time up unless the drivers went off the road. So it could play a integral part of this race if drivers can't make their tyres even last halfway here already. So it will be something we're going to have to look out for. Now I'm just trying to update one of my controls here so I can set a decent camera view before I bring up the drivers' points.
While you're doing that, I was just bringing out something I saw in the Discord. Lachlan Lock confirming the suspicions that maybe hards are on the cusp of some drivers. Lachlan Lock, I think, was planning on running on hards in qualifying, but ended up on the softs by mistake instead. So a couple of drivers, possibly maybe towards the back, that don't have quite as much they want to risk, potentially looking at the safer strategy in the hards. So we're just to see when the race starts. We didn't have to sit down and have a look at the times in qualifying to gauge where we sort of reckon the pace split might be if there are people out there on hards, and it seems like there might be some people out there on hards.
Well,
It'd be interesting.
if the tyres don't last halfway, it might be a strategy where we see drivers start on the soft tyre just for qualifying position and then put the hards on at the pit stop just to make it to the end. So it could be something to certainly look out for there. As I go try and sort this camera out, so I do apologise.
I also had a message just earlier from Eagle Eye Brendan Rossi, who managed to spot the car that had sprayed, though they'd bought all through turn one. It was Aiden in the Plus Fitness Nissan. So not sure why he's not out there. I'd hope it was what I was saying earlier, just being exceedingly generous to somebody on the racing line, but it's not the point you want to go, and that is, I believe, the corner. We've sort of had a bit of a, unfortunately, just with the way the calendar's panned out, we're having a bit of a running theme of having to police track extensions, and
Yes.
it is I do love the motto when I run it at a couple of tracks in a couple of races the last few weeks, that if they didn't want me to use it, they wouldn't have paved it. But they have paved the hard shoulder all the way down to basically the turning point for turn one, and a lot of drivers, possibly, if they weren't told otherwise, would be looking to do similar things to what was done at Queensland Raceway and get the nice swing into turn one, just to really open up that entrance. But
yeah, certainly go over that just a little bit later on as to the whole thinking behind that. But we do have the driver standings, or the top 10, on our screens now. So Darren Kemp leading the championship, 1,077 points, leading Daniel Cox on 1,041. He's only 12 points ahead of Termo in third. And then, of course, there's a big gap down to, or a bit of a gap anyway, down to Dane Ricardo in fourth. Now, Dane, of course, has probably been the fastest driver throughout the season, but due to incurring quite a number of penalties, he's dropped quite a number of positions and lost out a number of... he's had not only penalty points, but he's also been dropped down standings as well. So that's why he finds himself in fourth as opposed to being in the top three. And then, of course, we have Cheese there. He's had a pretty solid season on 9.24. Braxton Stancliffe on 9.06. Peter Thrower on 8.86. Matt Cecil, he'll be looking to have much stronger races tonight compared to his qualifying effort. But qualifying this season hasn't been his strong suit. He's generally been much better in the races. Taipan in 9th, and then Freakish rounding out the top 10. Now I'm just going to try and go back to my Google Doc, or the Google Doc, which shows the rest of the standings, which I don't have as a little nice graphic, but I can say that Steve Warwick is 11th with Lachlan Burke in 12th, Lockie Lock 13th, Nathan Higginson sitting in 14th place with Brapp in 15th. He's taken a little bit of a break from All Sim Racing, so hopefully all is well in his land and he comes back after his break, and is raring to go both here and of course at ASC. Justin Cecil in 16th. Lennart Grusel is also taking a bit of a break as well. He's 17th in the standings with Josh Watson, hashtag not last, in 18th. McLean Leonard, he's not here this evening, in 19th, and Hans Brunswick, who I do believe I think he's in the live chat, he's in 20th, just ahead of Brian Walsh. Alright, well that's the practice session done and dusted, or the warm-up session done and dusted. So hopefully there's no issues with people dropping in and out. We're able to have a nice, clean start, no restarts. But just coming back, Brody, to the massive, I wouldn't say massive, but the changes made to the outside of turn 1. Now, we did have issues last season with, we've had issues at Queensland Raceway, of course, ones that this year that we've had to deal with as well as in the past, and we have had issues here coming into turn 1. So instead of having the admin team having to spend a couple hours, on a Sunday or a Saturday wasting their time watching every driver take turn 1 and leave the pits, decided, well, you can just put these things, those anti-cut curbs or sleeping policemen, however you want to call them, just put them there, and they can police themselves. If you want to drive over that and have a big crash, that's on you. Just saves the admin a lot of time.
It's the F1 at Monza approach, right up until an F3 driver goes to space over them.
Well, those curves are a little bit different. I don't understand. If they just kept gravel there, it would have been much better. But that's Formula One for you. They're good at ruining all these circuits out there.
If we're going to talk about it just quickly, I find it humorous that Yas Marino circuit built for F1 is now being changed because it no longer suits F1.
And they're actually going to make it... Well, particularly the set of changes coming after at the second DRS zone, I think, is actually going to make overtaking less likely. But anyway, formation lap is underway, not the formulation lap. And Rody, why don't you run us through the grid here for race number 1 from Hidden Valley.
Starting on pole is newcomer Damon Woods out of go-karting and Victorian Formula Ford Racing. One of 2 new drivers in the grid, so starting off on pole in the number 9 Penrite Erebus machine. Starting from second will be Dane Ricardo in the Big Mate VF. Good run from Dane to jump up in a second, although not as high as he wanted to be. Termo in third. We kind of missed him jumping in there in qualifying, but he's up in third in the Bordello Falcon, with Cheese in fourth in the first of the Nissan. Daniel Cox in fifth in the Timken Brad Jones Racing Machine, with Lockie Locke first with the DJR Shell Falcon in sixth. Darren Kemp in seventh in the Castrol Nissan, with Steve Warwick in eighth. Ethan Higginson first to the GRM Commodores in ninth, with Freakish in 10th. Taipan starting 11th in the Brad Jones Racing number 14, with Xavier Kokai, the second newcomer, also go-karter Formula Forder, in 12th. Justin Cecil in 13th, with Pete Thrower in 14th. Matt Cecil in 15th for Super Chief Auto, with Gary Neville in the Raise Energy Racing ZB in 16th. Aiden in 17th of Plus Fitness Nissan, with Josh Watson, #not last, in 18th. Braxton Stancliffe starting 19th with a rear grid penalty from the last round for pit exit infringement. A couple of drivers, I believe, or a few drivers, I think, got pinged for that, but that's why he's starting off the back of the grid. With Brian Walsh with his pit lane start for driving infringements in the last round as well.
Yeah, so he'll have to wait, of course, for the lead driver to cross the first sector line for the game to give him green flag. Drivers now forming up onto the grid. A very, very long run to turn 1 for these guys. Hopefully they're all able to get through there cleanly. But Rody, I don't know if that's going to be possible.
Yeah, it's as long as nobody takes to heart what they saw in the Supercars race last weekend, it should be pretty clean. One would hope.
All right, so it looks like one of the race cars, I think that's Gary Neville there, just trying to find his grid spot there. So it looks like we're going to be waiting the full 60, unless he's able to get himself in a position. No, here we go.
There we go.
Lights are on. And looks like a very good start from Woods. And now the long trek to turn 1. He's got a clear lead into turn 1. Big battle's actually behind that. Termo, it's got cars to the left and right. And do they get through there cleanly? It looks like for the most part, well, they've all managed to live. So great job from everybody. Although we do have a car that's on the grass there on the exit. I didn't see which one that was. I think that may have been Steve Warwick. But Woods in the lead as we see Higginson and that's Lucky Locke duking it out there for 7th place. And a good start from Xavier Kokai. He's up 3 spots into 9th behind his teammate.
He's currently the corporate of the Shaman model nearly already. He's got Freakish and Taipan, who are currently door to door with the right-hander. who are trying to get up past him, although Kokai has actually managed to make away from Terry. He's now up on the back of his teammate in Nathan Higginson. And yeah, pretty clean start for the most part, which is good to see.
Is good to see, and yeah, Steve Warwick must have been the driver that was caught out. Oh, big dive at the final corner. He's caught Matt Cecil sleeping there, and he's making his way through the field after, looks like, just running wide there in the exit of turn 1. So he'll be a man to watch as this race progresses. Xavier Coco looking to move up another spot here with his teammate just ahead of him. Up the inside, his teammate giving him the space, but he's going to try and hang on around the outside, and that's Termo off the road there at turn 1. There's, that's one of the, I think that was Higo there getting all kinds of sideways on the exit there. But just see what happened to Termo here. Was it a nudge, or did he just outbrake himself? And he's just outbrake himself. There you go. So mistake from Termo, and that's another spot for Steve Warwick, and he's actually having to defend from Peter Thrower now in 12th place.
Yeah, Termo will be frustrated, so he's got some work to do to get back up towards the front for this race. Something interesting I've picked up as well, actually, and it will be an accident with the new guys coming in, but we've got 2 GRM cars in the field, and they're both around the number 34, so that will think that can look confusing at your end. But at the moment, there's Nathan Higginson following Xavier Kokai in the 2 GRM cars, and Higo not quite content to have been passed by Xavier, because he's had a couple of times there where he's sort of tried to put the nose in. He's getting a little bit too excited off the corner and to tighten the rears up, and is wiggling the car around, and he's very good at putting the rear end of the car, getting the rear end of the car sideways, but it doesn't often help pace. But I think he's got bigger problems at the moment. I think Freakish and straight at the back, Steve Warwick trying to range in on the back of Nathan Higginson as well.
He also had a change for the lead on the last lap as well, so Ricardo's got himself in the lead, but he's got Damon Woods all over the back of him, and he's defending into the hairpin. They're both deep there. Woods couldn't quite get the nose in. This is good for Cheese, who's up a spot into 3rd place. He's looking to close the gap between those two, and he could be a big beneficiary of those guys if they battle just a little bit too hard and end up coming together. And Coxie not too far away as well, as Ricardo can't quite get the nose in at the final corner, and Damon Woods will have a big VF hole of air. He'll tuck himself under as Cheese sets the fastest lap of the race. Ricardo defending on the inside. Woods once again going to try and go around the outside, and you're not really going to do it around the outside unless you're on a fresh set of tyres. The other guy's on 50 lap old tyres. So this is exactly, I think, Rody, what this race needs. These guys battling, and then we've got Cheese and Coxie as well as Darren Kemp closing in.
Yeah, so far in the sessions tonight, Dane hasn't had the outright pace over Damien. So now that he's made the pass, he is going to be making that VF as wide as he can. And yeah, and it's good news for all the guys behind as well that are starting to catch, because these guys racing, even though they're not necessarily side by side, they are slowing each other down. Dane obviously having to keep an eye on his mirrors, and Damon having to sort of measure himself and not put himself in a position where he's going to be in trouble. That's it. He has got a good run over this final corner. He's starting to go alongside Dane, but these guys keep racing like this. It's good news for Cheese, Coxie, and possibly even Kempy behind.
So the gap's actually sort of stabilised there, despite these guys just battling out. But so we did see Ricardo very defensive at the final corner, and that enabled Woods to get the better run, and he's got the lead now. And advantage Woods, and Ricardo is going to try and send it immediately, and Woods sees him coming and just opens the door and prevents those guys from making contact. So heads up driving from Damon Woods, who, as he mentioned earlier, is a real life driver. And being an open wheel driver, you've got to be alert, because any kind of contact can lead to broken suspension arm, broken wheels, and all kinds of damage that make your car not go anywhere, Rody.
I was going to make exactly that point. Being one of the 2 drivers in the field that have come in tonight, both being Formula 4 drivers, it's one of those categories where you've got to have a good perception of where your car is, and exactly you said, trying to avoid contact first possible, because in a touring car, you can bend panels and doors and knock off wing mirrors, and if you're really hard only, you start bending suspension components. in a Formula Ford or a Formula V or any of those sort of Formula cars, you make contact, even if it's not wheel on wheel, and you're going to do damage.
Oh, and he's
Damon
off.
Wood's very wide there, and he's
He's-
gone out on the marbles trying to defend. He saw Dane do that in the last lap, and Dane managed to hold on just about, but did lose position. But Damon a bit too deep there on the brakes, and he's lost the spot not only to Dane but also to Cheese.
Thankfully, Ricardo not too far down the road, but I think Woods is just driving a little bit too much in his mirrors there, and Ricardo is just keeping too much of a close eye on Ricardo. Big dive at the hairpin. Cheese leaves him just enough space to make sure they're both able to get through the corner cleanly. But now they're going to go side by side. Woods is going to try and go around the outside here, and they're both all kinds of sideways on the exit there, but Woods will have the inside here for the next 2 corners, and he's got the job done. But he's got 2.3 seconds to make up. A little bit further back, though, got a nice little battle pack for 4th place with Coxie just holding on. A championship leader right behind him, and Lockie Lock having a good run here too, Ro.
Yeah, not only that, I can see in the background, Xavier Kokine makes his way through the field. He's currently 7% behind Nate. So these two, if they start working together, they can catch this battle as well. But yeah, good little battle here. Just out of range of the top 3, but fighting for best of the rest, as it were. Yeah, Coxie doing a good job holding Kempy off behind, and Kempy kind of meet in the middle of the sandwich, although Lock and Lock not quite having the pace that the two of them have off that corner. He's got the juggle of having to pick when to attack if he feels he's got the pace over Coxie. He needs to think now is a good time for it. And also when to keep an eye for Lock and Lock. We got a yellow flag as well. It'll be for a car in front, I believe.
That is, I think that's Aiden.
No, it's Aiden. So a lap down, he's just getting, I believe, possibly just we got a bit heavy on the throttle out to the hairpin and taking the opportunity to park up alongside the road and let as much traffic through as he can, which is heads-up driving from Aiden there.
Alright, so just take stock and just scroll through the field here. So, of course, top 3, Ricardo, Woods, and Cheese. And then we have Coxie, Kemp, Lockie Lock, and then we have Kokai, who's done a good job here as Woods' fastest lap of the race there. Termo recovering in 8th. And then we have the 2 888 engineering cars of Braxton Stancliffe and Peter Thrower. Both have made gains there. Then we have Freakish in 11th as we see a car leaving the pits. That's Taipan. Justin Cecil in 12th. Gary Neville in 13th, just ahead of Josh Watson, who's having one of his better runs of the season. Then we have Matt Cecil in 15th. Higginson is missing a bonnet. Just coming through the final corner as Aiden tries to get his way back to the pits. Brian Walsh, who started from the pits in 17th. He's got the leaders starting to approach him. And then we've got Taipan and Steve Warwick, aka Craig Lowndes. He's had a bit of a disaster run here. He's leaving the pits. And maybe he's just putting fresh tyres on because his car doesn't look like it's got that much damage. So perhaps just a bit of strategy there. But back at the front, gap down to 2 seconds. And the front 2 now edging away from Cheese. But the big battle... We've got 2 big battles. We've got one for 4th, and we've also got Kokai and Termo starting to duke it out too.
Yeah, so back at the look at why Higginson missing a bonnet. He got out on the curb, the right hand rough of the hairpin, and it spun the car off the inside. He hit the wall and back and more pirouettes. Got back on track nice and cleanly, but I'm not sure he was planning on making a stop then, but it was a good chance to make a stop while he had the damage, and it was a very good spot to do it. Been right near the pit entrance, but still not what Nathan Higginson would be wanting. And no, you're right, no, absolutely good battle here for 4th, and I can see just in the battle, the background, that battle for 4th.
Oh, we got Cheese off, and thankfully those barriers haven't been made completely solid, which they actually should be. So he's quite lucky there, and he's having to wait to let the leads go by. So I would say, let's just cut to a replay of that. He's lost the rears under braking. Yeah, there we go. He's gone over the rise. He's actually hit the fence there. So there will be a patch for those walls made later on in the week for the main series. So it's good testing. That's why Super 2's first. But gap at the lead, 1.5 seconds. Cheese looks like he's coming in because I reckon he's got a bit of damage in that car, and he may just balk. No, thankfully they've all avoided him. But Coxie, he's got Kemp right behind him. And Kemp, he's got Lockie Lock right behind him as well.
Yeah, so this is about pack on him. Actually, Kempy making a big lunge there into turn 1. I think he's got it. He just needs to get back to the apex.
Good block pass there.
That.
Late on the brakes, and then just gets himself back to the middle, or the inside where the car behind can't do the crisscross. So smart driving from Kemp, and that's why he's our championship leader at the moment. And that's important for the championship because Termo's behind him, and he's going to be putting more points on Daniel Cox here with that move as well. So Coxie has got to get a move on here. We've got Termo. Looks like he's off in the background too, so I'll just cut to replay and see if he's made a dive and hasn't made it work. Which, yeah, big dive, and he did pull it up. Kokai, again, real-life racing experience coming to play. Saw him coming, held his turn in, and avoided an incident. So smart driving all around there, outside of Termo just not being able to pull his car up. But Kokai now will be able to focus on putting together a good couple laps, and he'll hopefully catch the back of Lockie Lock. But Kemp now just edging away from Coxie, as Damon Woods now 1.1 away from the race lead.
Yeah, he's been putting in some good pace, obviously setting some fast laps on his way through as well, currently holding the fastest lap, the 106.189, which is 199, which is one a bit tense up on Dane's best pace, and that's the thing I raised earlier, is he's had the pace on Dane, but he has still then got to pass. He's got to catch Dane, and he needs to pass Dane. The other thing I'm interested on is where these guys are on their tyre strap, because neither of them are pitted yet. I'd expect if they're going to be in, if they are planning to stop, they should be doing the next lap or two to still get the best use out of their soft at the back end of this race. But they're still pushing on for another lap, and based on the quali pace, they've got to be on soft. So
the lap times are still good here, though, both in the 106s. So if they started dropping off maybe to the 7s or 8s, maybe they would bowl it into the pit lane. But still lap time in it, and maybe these tyres already could last to the end here. I know we have seen a number of drivers pulled into the pits, but normally if people weren't confident their tyres could last, we'd see them in at the halfway mark. So surprising we haven't seen more in, but perhaps the tyres can last. So it's going to be down to who has the most meat left on their tyres in the final couple of laps here.
I'm intrigued by my comments heard earlier with Dane suggesting, and it could just be misquoted, suggesting that it was a two-stop race, because when we got to a lap 12, big slide there for Damon Woods, that would be helping him. But Dane have apparently said that it's a two-stopper. To be at lap 12, I mean to lap 13 without a pit stop, I'd almost suggest whatever practice he was doing, probably for private practice, he might have had his tyre wear multiplier incorrect for that to be the case, because they're both on softs according to their pace, with no apparent drop-off as we start lap 13. So I don't know, they might not be stopping at all, which would surprise me with the pace, again, that they're both been having, but well, I don't know, maybe the tyre wear isn't as bad as what they were predicting.
Yeah, so we just saw Termo coming to a replay. Big dive there as Kokai ran a little bit wide, and now side by side for the back half of that lap. Kokai then a bit of a crisscross at the final corner, and the cut live, and Kokai holds on into turn 1. But those guys battling, they're not able to close in on Lucky Lock down the road, and Termo trying to go the long way here, and he's going to do it, I reckon, if he can just hold on to what he can. Up the inside for the hairpin. And that's job done for Termo, and I've had a game crash, so I'm going to have to come back into the game. So, Rody, talk us through it.
That's not ideal. I was just looking back to happen to Justin Cecil. He's DNF'd, and he's only dropped down the order. He just pulled it off at turn 1. I'm not sure what happened to his end, but yeah. So we're sitting right now at a gap, and it's stabilising pretty closely actually. The Damon sets up the slipstream of Dane, but he's achieving similar pace. So it's a 1.2 second gap thereabouts between Dane and Damon. Another 10 seconds back from Woods to the battle for third, and it's currently Kempy with about a second up on Coxie and Lachlan Lock in fifth, with Termo and Xavier Kokai coming up now on the back of the pair of them. Termo having put the pass on Kokai and having it pretty stable. That said, looking a little wobbly, he's just launched over the curbs through the end of the first sector. Braxton up to 8th, Pete Thrower 9th, and Freakish 10th. We'll cut back to that battle though, and I will try and make a radio show out of this. It's been a while since I've done this in commentary.
Well, we are in the process of loading in here, so
all good. So yeah, coming through the last couple of corners now. It is actually we'll come up to the lead because it's down to 3/10. So I'm not sure whether there's been a mistake there for Dane or they are both catching some traffic in. Josh Watson actually not last to, and also Steve Warwick, who seems to be a lap down, further down. So I'm not sure what's happened to Steve there. Yes, essentially.
We are live now, so we can see this battle here for the lead, having to navigate through the lap traffic. And yeah, a bit awkward for these lap runners here. I have caught them in an awkward part of the racetrack, but Steve Warwick, he's done a great job there letting the leaders go by. As according to my game, fastest lap of the race, Brian Walsh, 107.8, which of course we do know isn't the fastest lap of the race, but he can certainly take that to the bank and say, hey, I at least got one because of a game crash, so I'd claim it. But Ricardo in the lead, should probably turn his headlights off now that he's got by that lap traffic. But that 14 of 18 live timing, probably not going to sort itself out here on the graphics on the game, but we do have live races working pretty well this week, thankfully. But he's holding on. But I wonder if Woodsy's just biding his time here, Rody.
Yeah, he's again he's had the pace on him. I'm going to avoid saying because at this point it's all I'm saying. But no, he's got good pace. That said, you can see maybe he's starting to, these tyres starting to get maybe with the pressure as well. Bit of a slide there out of the first corner, and he's dropped back a couple of tenths there. Yeah, he could be biding his time. There is a reverse top 10, so whether he's thinking bigger strategy, he knows that he can beat, maybe he knows he can beat Dane and just wants to sit back and, is happy to lose the fight but win the war as it comes to overall round finishing order. Yeah, he's sort of hovering actually. He's sort of dropping back. He's almost stabilising a little bit. He has got 13 odd seconds back to Kempy. So unless either have a major mistake or they get into each other, this is your top one and this is your top two. Not necessarily finishing this order, but this is your top two. So yeah, he's dropping back and he's now sitting just over a second off. So I don't know whether he's running his race and that's what he's got or what this is, but
well, he hasn't driven these cars, of course, or hasn't raced these cars in anger before. I wouldn't imagine. This is not an online setting that we have seen, so perhaps wouldn't have experienced these tyres at this level of wear. So Woods at the moment just struggling a little bit. So it's advantage Ricardo for now, and a little bit further back though. Looks like Cox is just starting to fight back here. They've dropped Lockie Lock, who's looks like he's fallen off the face of the earth. So he's gone. But they've got Termo closing in on these guys here, which all these guys duking it out for the championship. Darren Kemp, our championship leader, and Coxie and Termo looking to get some points back on him here with just a couple laps to go.
I suspect looking at the gap.
Oh, Termo's around. He's looped it coming out of. I don't know what turn number that is. It's I think that's turn 10, 9 or 10 there, and that's dropped him behind Kokai, who's up into 5th. Kokai struggling to turn in for the final corner there. So driver's now starting to struggle as Kokai's around. He's in the fence coming out of the final corner. So these guys here struggling big time, and he's looped it again. I reckon he's got a rear puncture. The way that car went around, his tyres certainly not in ideal condition, and he's lit it up again, and he's struggling. Oh, yeah, I'd say he's got a puncture there. Oh, we've got a Termo's around and Braxton's around at turn 1. So again, just cut sort of replay here. Just try and speed it up and catch up. So they both lost it on their own there, spinning in sympathy. All gone here, and out in front looks like Woods has had a little bit of an off and spin as well. And Ricardo now coming to the line. I'm not sure if this is the final lap or not. He's flashing his lights indicating that it may well be.
That is a win for Dane.
And Damon Woods will come home in 2nd place. Darren Kemp going to hold on for 3rd, just ahead of Coxie. And Peter Throw out of nowhere, he's going to come home in 5th. So he's made up good, at least 3 or 4 spots out of all those drivers in the last lap that have gone off the road. Braxton Stanker's going to come home in P6. So, drivers just driving a little bit too hard here, Rody, and they've wrecked their tyres. Lucky Lock, he's in 7th at the moment. And he's got, I think that's Nathan Higginson in front of him, but he's a lap down. So Lucky Lock will come home in 7th, just ahead of Cheese and Gary Neville and Matt Cecil. And Termo, I think he's looped it again, and he's going to finish the race in reverse here. And Xavier Kokai, I don't know if he's finished.
He hasn't finished. No, you're 100% correct. I went to our alternate unit and had a look. He did have a punctured rear tyre, and I don't know why he didn't pit. Maybe he didn't know that he could pit, but he was still had a racing lap to go. He could have pitted, and he would have made it round sooner than this. I think from where he's sitting, everyone behind him has already finished.
Yeah, the car behind him is Watson.
Line in time, he's going to get 12th, but it's a very slow run with one cooked rear, and I think the other one wasn't too far behind either. He might not make it.
He might not have either rear tyre here, so...
No. Looking at the way that car is refusing to turn and then turning well too easy on the grass, he's got no rear tyre left.
Yeah, so... interesting here. For Kokai, in his first race in ASR, he's going to finish the race with no rear tyres here.
The only thing I think this is, I suppose, one of the benefits, some changes we made recently to the way servers are run in general, is that we've got a pretty good amount of time available at the end of the session once the leader has crossed the line for everyone else to cross the line. And not that we plan to see it tested, but Kokai, seeing if he is, you mentioned at Super 2 sort of being the test bed, he's here testing if we've given the drivers enough time to make it round with no...
It hasn't,
we haven't.
He will be classified in that position, but yeah, a bit of an interesting finish to that one, with a number of drivers having blowouts or their tyres pretty much just fall off a cliff on that final lap there. So very, very interesting final lap, but Ricardo in the end coming home and taking race number 1 ahead of Damon Woods, who looked like his tyres did fall off that cliff, but was still able to come home in 2nd. Then we had Darren Kemp doing a really good job there ahead of his championship rivals in Cox and Termo. Termo looks like he had major issues on that final lap, Brody.
Yeah, a couple of drivers I was just looking at in the Discord chat. We found out what happened with Justin Cecil and explained why his DNF looked weird. You weren't the only one having game crashes during that race. So did Justin Cecil, and so did Freakish right at the end as well as Braxton at some point tonight. So I don't know, something in the track or what it is, but yeah, not unlike it's the inverse of Phillip Island, where nobody was crashing but me, and I was crashing. I think I crashed 5 times at Phillip Island round. One of them was right in the middle of the race, but because I'm not broadcasting, it's not so crucial. But yeah, I don't know, something out of the circuit just not agreeing with some people's computers.
Yeah, so I may need to just go through and double check some things, maybe take some things out, just to make sure that everyone's able to get through without any issues. But yeah, race 1 from Super 2 done and dusted. So we're just going to have, well, we won't have a break, but these guys just going to have a little break as a number of drivers have had to leave the server and come back in here. So points are being updated on the fly here. And I'm just double checking to make sure they're all sorted, which it looks like they all are. And Darren Kemp still our championship leader. Hurt Termo a little bit. He was right behind Daniel Cox there, but now he finds himself 33 points off the back of 2nd, and only 48 points in front of Dane in 4th. And Darren Kemp just able to squeeze away now, so he's on 1,171 to Daniel Cox on 1,132 points. Also had Cheese as well. He's doing nicely at the moment. sitting in 5th place in the standings. Braxton Stancliffe still sitting in 6th place. Peter Thrower in 7th, ahead of Matt Cecil, Taipan and Freakish. Steve Warwick as well with that. Well, he still sits just outside the top 10, but he's actually not too far away from Freakish. Only 23 points away. And then he's got a bit of a gap to Lockie Lock and Lockie Burke now. So Lockie Burke, I think, was sitting in 11th. He now finds himself down a few spots. But of course, the second and third races here in Super 2 in ASR, they reverse top 10. So something that, of course, Damon Woods is going to have to experience for the first time, and something which could throw up an interesting result here, Rhodey, as those guys are going to have to do a lot more battling, both Dane and Damon, as they try to fight their way back to the front, but also try and conserve their tyres at the same time. They're not going to have the luxury of being able to drive at 8 tenths and, try and make their tyres last now.
Yeah, so interesting to see with a couple of these drivers. Yeah, as you mentioned, a couple of guys right towards the end with their tyres falling off. And yeah, a good point for the guys that are going to come up through the field now. They've got to race potentially a little bit harder. That said, like we saw some hard racing from Damon more so. Obviously, having a couple of mistakes, having to recover from that to go back to Dane. In the end, he didn't quite make it back to Dane in the end. No, it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, there's a bit more work in the tyres. You're going to be running a bit more off your preferential line, getting through traffic. Other thing I'm interested to see is with some drivers having to pit, what it's doing for them. Also, them coming into the fray as actual lap traffic as also as in the race. So I think hopefully Damon's got some more confidence in the tyres now that he's been out there and driven a full race length on them and knows what a light and tyre state is and maybe how to work around it, whether it's the conservation thing or whether it's just managing them right at the end. And whether that means he's just going to have to do all he can in the first 8 tenths of the race to be in front of Dane to then hold him off where he's not so confident on the tyres. Maybe that's his best strategy, because he was catching Dane up until he was looking pretty shaky on his tyres, and at that point he was dropping a tenth or two a lap. So that's going to be Damon's best chance for a win. That said, a couple other drivers that were doing quite good on their tyre strategy towards the end, a couple of spins unfortunately, but I think Termo's was a genuine one rather than tyre constraints, because he's been one of the drivers that we've seen so far when you need it to be a driver who can manage their tyres. But Darren Kemp, Daniel Cox, Termo, Kokai, aside from blowing his tyres right at the end, was actually doing all right as well. But maybe he needs to knock a tenth or two off his pace per lap to make his tyres last. A couple of guys there that looked all right. So if Damon or Dane have trouble getting through the field or just have some little errors there, there's possibly the best of the rest guys and cheats as well that could be making a swing at the podium for this race.
I do wonder if we will see some drivers actually try using hard tyres here in this second race. If you're maybe just only losing half a second to even maybe 8 tenths of a second compared to your soft tyre running, if you're able to maintain that pace throughout the entire length of the race, it might be a more worthwhile strategy than saving tyres and still have the tyres really fall off the last 2 or 3 laps. So you may see some drivers opt to just put hard tyres on instead of running the soft. But certainly going to be an interesting second race with tyre strategy as well as faster guys being just slightly out of position. So could see barnstorming finish, and you may even see a bit of a Bradbury finish with maybe some guys that go hard too early and stay out in front and then all fall off, and all the guys behind them end up picking up spots. So it's certainly going to be something to look out for. And it looks like we've actually picked someone up here. Zach Brown, I have seen him in the practice server on the Discord, and looks like he's jumped in and is going to have a go.
Yeah, well, I was about to mention that actually. But, he was someone who was trying to get in earlier. I believe either work or other commitments had him busy until now. But he is known as Game Over in the Discord. And he has been coming up for our F1 races. I believe he might have also jumped in for our Formula V Fun Night last Friday. But no, good to see McLaren boss Zach Brown in Super 2 Series.
Yeah, maybe spelt slightly different, but yeah, McLaren boss is definitely here to have a bit of a go.
You would think though, as the McLaren boss, he would be driving one of the Walking Andretti United cars, being that United Autosports is another one of his ventures. But actually, well, he could be, because I don't think they're
There's
currently.
neither of them here. I've not noticed any of
Other than
them
him,
in the
no.
service.
John
So.
Stowe, who ran Lachlan at Barbagallo, he's not here tonight, and Lachlan Burke, I mentioned earlier, also not here tonight at the moment. So he could that would be a nice tie-in for him to jump into one of the WAU cars, but no, he's in the Raise Energy Commodore, which I believe Gary Neville was in. Let me just have a look to see whether Gary's still on the server or not. He is, and we're now going to have two Raise Energy ZB Commodores as well.
Well,
Okay.
we're actually going to have a look at the GRM cars. So Nathan Higginson's in James Gouling's car, and Kokai's also in it. So may have to go and send one of those guys a message to jump in here.
Yeah, I will go sort that out for you
And I guess the same goes. Doing too many of the Race Energy cars. Any double ups out there? So just having a look. So got Zach Brown in one of them, and Gary Neville in the other. Alright, so just moments away, just waiting for a couple of drivers that are in double up cars just to change vehicles. And then once they're back in, we will be going for race number 2 from Hidden Valley Raceway, where tyres are the big talking point. With a number of these drivers, can you make them last? A number of drivers did, but a lot of drivers weren't able to do that. So Kokai's back in the server in the 33 car, which is good. So expect some elbows up Tandra out there. And now he drove back in his second stint at GRM. Could see a car on its roof at the hands of the 33. Hopefully not, but that's generally how that stint went for him. And I do believe that they're all back in the server. No, we've had another driver drop out. Dane's dropped out.
Yeah, we're just getting some people back in. Just went to catch up with the both of them. Xavier has been jumping in the 33, and Zach Brown, McLaren boss Zach Brown, now jumping into, or he's just jumped out. I think he had the wrong gear ratio set from, I think his race was previously, but he did have the wrong gear ratio set for whatever reason. He is jumping into the Raise Energy Falcon, so the car that Gary would be in. So we've now got all three Raise Energy cars out there. Only one of them actually driven by the guy it's assigned to, but that's the nature of, I suppose, of a series where you can just sort of drop in and drop out. Is that it'd be nice if people were all in the same cars each and every week, but it doesn't always work out that way.
Yeah, sometimes there's a curveball, and it's a bit of a waiting list as well, with all the cars sort of taken, and some people just got to grab whatever they can. So Kokai and Ricardo are back in the game. Just going to wait for them to appear on my screen, and then we'll knock it over to the next session. So Kokai's in. His car has loaded. And 30 seconds till we advance. So the server's going to be done for us. You beauty. But yeah, certainly going to be an interesting race, this one. Ricardo starting 10th. Woods starting in 9th. And we're going to have Matt Cecil starting on pole. He didn't have the most ideal qualifying session. As oh dear, we've had Braxton Stancliffe now crash. Or leave the game. So it will be interesting to see how Cecil goes there. And Gary Neville also starting in 2nd place as well. But looking at what the grid's going to be here, Rody, Cheese, who was running in the top 3 for majority of race number 1, he fell off a cliff towards the back end of that race. He's going to be starting in 3rd here, so if he can get a good start, he might find himself with a nice little buffer in the early portion of the race.
Yeah, if he can set himself up well and sort of, I'm not sure whether it was tyre life or whether it's just not as confident on the tyres at the back end of it that caused him to fall off the way he did. But yeah, starting from 30, he set himself up well with the way that race panned out in race 1. So a chance for him to jump up to the grid, just getting the grid reset, which makes it hard to scroll through. Yeah, so Matt on pole, Gary Neville 2nd, and those had a good race towards the end of the battle at the field opening. If you can see where they qualified, as to see whether they're going to drop away from each other or not. But hopefully there's a resumption of that sort of racing in the first few laps. Cheese in 3rd, Lockie in 4th, Braxton in 5th. Probably a good spot for him. He had to talk through the field for from his rear grid start, and one thing we have noted him for, I did note him for at Queensland Raceway was. He had a rear grid start there as well, and still managed to get towards the top in, I believe, the 2nd race, and actually joined us in the broadcast booth that night. So hopefully he can be back with us again at some point. But yeah, he's proven himself really well in starting from the back and coming out through the grid. So he starts from 5th, and he's had some good pace as well. Not quite as good as the two that led the race, but still pretty good. And I'm not going to go for the rest of them because you're about to do that in about 20 seconds time.
Yeah, so 15 seconds away for the formation lap to get underway. Yeah, just having a look at the overall fastest times from the practice sessions, and Braxton was the 6th fastest car overall, so he does have a little bit of pace in that thing. So he's also got a very good opportunity if he can just get away nicely. That's formation lap. So tick over. There we go. Now underway. I'll run through race number 2, and Rody can do the run through for the final race of the evening. So it will be Matt Cecil from pole position for Tickford Racing in the super cheap auto backed Falcon, and then we have Gary Neville joining him on the front row in one of the Race Energy guest cars. Cheese will start in 3rd, followed by Lockie in 4th place. He'll be hoping for a much better second half of this race. Number 2, Braxton Stancliffe will start in 5th with Peter Thrower in 6th. So both the Red Bulls who started towards the back end of the field in race number 1. I wonder if they had the hard tyres on already. They were able to get through the race quite nicely and pick up a lot of spots. And they're going to have a good starting position here for race number 2. Coxie, he'll start in 7th place. He was looking to battle all race long with Darren Kemp, but was just short. They'll start 7th and 8th. And we have Damon Woods on debut, finishing in 2nd place. He'll start from 9th, of course, with Dane Ricardo, a race 1 winner, starting from 10th. In 11th, we had Termo, who fell away late there in that one, was in that battle for podium position before he dropped it off the circuit. He'll start 11th. Kokai starting a little bit higher up than what he did in race number 1, so he won't have to make up as many spots, but he'll be hoping to finish with 2 rear tyres this time. And then we have Josh Watson starting, I believe, almost as high as what we've ever seen in 13th place. So he's on the way up. Hashtag not last. And then Taipan will start in 14th. Higginson in 15th. We did see him without a bonnet. Freakish will start in 16th. Alongside him will be Steve Warwick, aka Craig Lowndes. He's got pace in that thing. Hopefully he's got a little bit better luck for this second race here. Brian Walsh will start 18th. Aiden will start 19th. And then we have Justin Cecil and McLaren team boss Zach Brown starting in 21st position. And just having a look here, Gary Neville well out of position. I know some of these grid slots here are not quite up to the actual boxes there, but he is way back.
He's well back. There he goes, nearly a car length off.
So, yeah, lights are on here. And, well, Gary Neville, he's gone absolutely nowhere. He's going to drop at least 4 spots before turn 1, I would say. But Matt Cecil is going to have a free run into turn 1, so it's all going to be without the cars behind. They're 3 and 4 abreast. And will they all make it through? They'll do it in race 1. And in race 2, there's a little bit of bumping and barging going on there. But for the most part, it looks like they're through.
Well, that'd be for Gary Neville too. The same thing happened at the start when I wrecked race to Phillip Island. When you get moved up to the grid, car retested neutral, and looks like the lap of the start, he just went nowhere. So fortunate for Gary there. So Matt Cecil leading away, Braxton up to second with Cheese up in third.
Yeah, so Braxton up 3 spots in there. Cheese, he's gone nowhere, but big battle here for 7th place. So Ricardo's got himself up to 7th, and he's got Dane Woods behind him. Higginson's up 6 spots. And Termo's only up 1. And Peter Thrower had a bit of a nightmare off the start here. But going to be a big battle now, I'd imagine, between Kemp, Cox, Ricardo, Woods, and well, Higginson's been all over the shop, so it'll be interesting to see where he works out. But he's got Termo for company, and Termo's going to get him at least at the start-finish line, as Ricardo making a move into turn 1 on Cox, and he gets the job done there. That's why Cox didn't defend that a little harder, but Cox just playing a little bit more of a long game here. And now Woods just having a little bit of a look as well, not quite close enough. It's a little bit further ahead. Look, Braxton making a move on Matt Cecil. Cecil trying to do the old crisscross, but Braxton in the way, and he just gave him a little bit of a nudge instead. But Braxton now looking to drive away, and a bit of a train starting to form up behind Matt Cecil here.
Yeah, so this is exactly what Braxton wanted to do. If he's got the pace, he's going to want to drive away. Cheese now on the back of Matt as well, and there is a train back from Matt, about 10 cars, I think. And buried in that is the top 2 from the first race, so they've made their way through this as well. The next car they've got to pass, if I cut back, is Darren Kemp, and Kempy will give you room if he feels that
here we go.
He'll be racing you, but he's known for putting his elbows up, so you'll have to come to him as well. And
but Cheese making a move on Cecil, sorry to cut you off there into turn 1. And Cecil coming under a bit of fire from Lockie Lock and Darren Kemp. Kemp looking to make a move on Lock here, and they're going to go side by side here. Lock's going to have the inside for the next corner, and Ricardo having a look as well. Kemp's going to try and go around the outside, which he's really going to do. He's got to watch out for Ricardo, who looked to stick his nose in there as well. Woods is still stuck behind Cox a little bit further back.
Now he's made it through because Cox is running just a bit wide. He apexed a bit early there and put him right over the curb. Like to spin the car as well. They did lose a spot too, or 2 spots actually. He's now got, I believe, Nathan Higginson company in the battle for 9.
And this Ricardo and Kemp side by side, but I reckon Woods has got the best run out of all of them here, and they might make it 3 wide into turn 1. Oh, and I don't think Woods will be too pleased with that, because Ricardo just moving around a little bit there on the straight, and Woods is looking to make it 3 wide, but he backed out of it smartly. It's a key battle here for Ricardo if he wants to get himself back into championship contention here. Oh, it's a big dive. He's
too much.
Lucky to pull that up, and yeah, he's lost positions to 3, maybe 4 cars here. It's very ambitious.
And that's part of the fun of. I haven't had experience with it myself because I've never been quite his pace. That's part of the fun of racing camping. When he wants to put the elbows up, it isn't possible to pass, and you have to do something pretty bold and attempt to make a pass. And that might have been the only option Dane felt he had. He could have waited a little longer. Woods was there, but he was still ahead of him for time. Woods taking a look at the second last corner, not far enough alongside. He's
right out sideways. He's been a little bit squirrely on this lap a couple times now, and now Termo's looking to get a move done. Termo smartly pulls to the right to get a little bit of slipstream from Darren Kemp just ahead. And we can just see him just start to creep a little bit further ahead. He's going to try and go around the outside at turn 1, but he's overcooked it. And that's going to lose him at least 2 spots, I would imagine. Yep, there goes Higginson. And, Higginson right out sideways himself on the exit to turn 1 there, giving Termo probably a little bit too much space in the end there, and over-compromise himself. But not of all that, though. Ricardo has managed to close back up to the back of Woods. And, Woods sees him coming and just blocks him off there. And Ricardo trying all avenues here. They're just costing themselves time here. These guys are 4.7 seconds off the lead. Bracken Stankliffe in the lead, with Cheese sort of hanging on there, about 1 second, 1.1 seconds between those guys. But Ricardo now looking to make a move at the final corner. A little bit of a biff there, I think, between the two. And that's that's caused a big smash. That is a massive shunt for Woods and Ricardo. Higginson's caught up in that. He's not going to be too pleased with that either. And, Higginson's going to keep going, but he has damaged Woods. He may be dead. So, rest in peace, Damon Woods. We'll catch a replay of that one. So, yeah, a little bit of a nudge there. Forced Woods a little bit wide. And bang, straight into the wall, straight into Ricardo, and straight onto his lid.
Yeah, it was a. I do want to look at that one after to make some serious judgments on that one. Dane was a bit cheeky, put his nose in the inside. I can't say for sure whether it was because Dane put his nose in the inside because of the space, or whether Dane across his nose. I trust that Dane, with the real experience, wouldn't be doing anything compromising. He ran a little wide at the exit. I don't know whether Dane was trying to run him wide, whether he was just trying to squeeze him out or what it was. It was just a slight bit of lap between Damon and the wall, and I think maybe the curb played a bit of play as well. And big accident, obviously, Damon right into the wall, then the side of Dane.
Oh, man, Higginson, he's going to be a bit pissed off with that because I hate to swear in a broadcast, but he should have put his foot on the brake there. He rolled straight back onto the racing line, and Higginson had a big lose. He's lost a couple positions out of that.
I was about to mention, he almost looked like, from my point of view, that he was taking the chicane that the same super trucks use when they race here, where they use the pit lane entry as a bit of a low-speed chicane before they come up to the jump. So you very much look at that because he went to the pit lane and then swung right back out towards the track as well. But no, he won't be too happy. That said, he's got off a little better. He has got off a little. He's about on par with Dane. Obviously, he was a bit further. He was a few spots back on Dane, so he actually come back pretty well from that. But yeah, Woods now down, I believe, in the last place, and actually we missed it earlier as well. Xavier Kokai, game crash for him in I think the first lap. So shame for Xavier. He had some good pace, so that'll be a rear grid start for the third race if he can make it back. But that's unfortunate for the newcomer.
We have had a change of position out front. So Cheese has got ahead of Bracken Stankliffe now, and a big opportunity for Matt Cecil and Lockie Lock here to pick up some very handy points. They're actually not too far off the lead as well, only 2.3 seconds away. So if those guys in front do battle, they could find themselves in that battle for the lead. Darren Kemp not too far away either in 5th place, and then Termo, and then after that massive shunt, bit of a gap between Cox and Termo. With, looks like I think Coxie may have just lifted quite a bit in that whole ordeal. Peter Thrower in 8th, Ricardo in 9th, with Freakish in 10th place, Higginson in 11th now, with Gary Neville 12th, Steve Warwick in 13th place, and looks like Woods has got going again without a bonnet, and here's a lap down looking to get by Steve Warwick. He's down in 20th spot. We've got Zach Brown in 14th in his first run, with Justin Cecil 15th, Watson in 16th, with Brian Walsh 17th, Aiden in 18th, and Taipan and Woods the last of the running cars. But Cheese in the lead, and again Cecil 2.4 seconds off the lead, so not really losing too much time. It's all going to come down to, I'd say, how the tyres on each of these cars are at the back end of the race.
Just looking at Damon, I believe looking at the gap where he is to everyone else, I believe he has taken a stop. He would have had some pretty severe damage. I am surprised that impact didn't kill the car, but yeah, pit stop, which is actually mandated under our rules for when you flip a car anyway. So
Well, not in this series.
Good point.
Not in this series. I've made it a point that I personally find it a silly rule, and it's a video game, not real life. So,
I mean, I think to be fair, it's pretty hard to make a pit stop while you flip your car in real life because it doesn't auto reflip again once you've done it. Normally, it goes straight into a tray truck or on a crane, and
it's also hard to make a pit stop or roll your car over when you're dead. But
that too.
That's what would have happened to old Woodsy there. And we've got Termo in the pits. So Termo looks like he's going to... Well, he's playing a strategy game here. And he's gambling on the guys in front, their tyres falling off. So it will be interesting to see actually where he does come out. He's got a bit of passing to do. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe under-fueled or something. It's hard to say. But I'd imagine it's just 4 tyres. But he's got a lot of work to do, and he's going to need a lot of drivers to have their tyres fall off here.
At this point, he's going to drop back. He's dropped back to, what is this now, 14, 15, 16. He's essentially going, by the time he gets going, he's going to be about 2/3 of a lap down. So he's got a lot of pace to make up. He's just pulled out in front of Brian Walsh, 16, 17. He's expecting, he's going to have to put the foot down on fresh tyres, but he's also expecting a bit of drop off because I'm not sure he's going to make up 30 odd seconds all by himself in the next 8 laps. That's a superhuman task. So if he's wanting to swing at the lead, he's expecting, I'd say, at least the top 5, 6, maybe even more to either have to really start conserving and dropping off their pace or just outright losing tyres.
Yeah, so definitely something we're going to have to see. The final 3 laps is when we'll start to see drivers really start to fall off a cliff. But do have Braxton Stack with half a second off the lead, but currently looking at the battle for 6th place between Cox, Thrower and Ricardo. And Freakish not too far away as well. So he'll need these guys to be battling for a few laps, and looks like we've got Aiden there off in the infield. But Cox holding on. Oh, big dive there from Ricardo, and his half-spun thrower around. And Freakish is there's a gift. And he'll certainly take that. That's for sure.
He has stopped to redress it, Dane. But the problem was, it would be interesting to see whether he saw it because we have had issues with this previously. With how much the game wants to show you. From my end, he was under a yellow flag at the time as he went for the pass, so he would have been in potentially trouble either way there had he actually pulled that pass off, but it was pretty ambitious to dive in at the hairpin like that.
And you can see that Aiden's car was there, so yellows were out there. So here you go, Ricardo looking to make a move now to get Freakish positions back. The inside, he should get the job done from there. Higginson looking like he wants to have a bit of that action as well, but he doesn't get the drive out of the exit of turn 1 to do anything of it. And so Termo on those fresh set of boots, fastest lap of the race. He's 43 seconds off the lead, Rudy. He's going to need a absolute miracle to make up that time. Perhaps he's just thinking of Darren Kemp, and maybe he's looking at 38 seconds as opposed to 43. But Cheese in the lead. He's doing 107.0s, 107.3 for Braxton Stankliffe on that last lap. 7.9 for Cecil, 7.4 for Locke, and 7.3 for Kemp. So I reckon the next important battle outside the one for the lead is going to be for 3rd place here. And can Matt Cecil hold on? He's got a bit of a rap sheet next to his name with the amount of tyre failures that he's had in the summer series and even in the current 2021 ASR Super 2 series as well here. So that's something that's playing on his mind. He's got the cog up next to his name, so perhaps Matt Cecil, he's going to try pitting here, perhaps. So that's something we're going to have to look out for in the back half of this lap, or if it's just a game glitch. Another fastest lap for Termo, a 6.1. But he needs to be going in the 104s, I'd say, to really make any inroads on the guys that he's racing for the championship. As we see, Cecil very, very wide there, and he's turned the cog off, so it looks like he's staying out.
The only sort of the best thing Termo can hope for at this point is a safety car. But we had a car flipped on the main straight on the racing line, and there was no safety car called.
They
So
are
I'm not
turned
sure
off.
what was triggered here.
They are turned off
Ah,
for this.
okay. So yeah, he needs Phillip Island level tire blowouts, not our Phillip Island, but IRL Phillip Island level tire blowouts.
Is it 2015 or is it another year?
No,
There's a heat. I think 2015 had some.
16 or 17, I think, when they were abusing the minimum tire pressures and how much camber they were putting on the tires, and they were just slicing them open.
I think James Courtney had about 3 failures in one race or something like that, which is well, pretty funny because it's James Courtney.
Yeah, Courtney. I think Moffat as well had a few. I think all of Tickford had issues from memory.
This battle very, very close. Also seen the gap between the front two come right down. It's only 0.3 of a second now. So just hold the camera there. There's first and second. And there's third, fourth, and fifth. All very, very close together. We've got a car off in the background as well there. And just trying to find out who that is. That's, Damon Woods has had an adventure into the Armco. Oh, yeah, we saw that in race 1. And he's actually pulled the plug on that one. But Stancliffe now having a look at turn 1. But not close enough to commit to the move. And he's biding his time here. Right on the bumper of Cheese. And Cecil holding on to third. And Lockie Lock is looking more in his mirrors now, I'd say, Rudy, with Darren Kemp right behind him.
So yeah, and that said, I was about to say something, and Kempy changed the story for me. He's already making a move on Lachlan Lock. He might hold him here, but coming into the left-hander at the hairpin, he's going to have to brake late and then get across the...
Very aggressive.
Run.
So later on the brakes.
Very aggressive from Kemp and very... Maybe been a bit too courteous from Lockie Lock there. Maybe thinking bigger picture, maybe expecting Kempy's tyres to... Maybe he's focusing on his tyres as well, especially with Matt Cecil, the leader of this train, and he's checkered past with making tyres last at the end of the race. Maybe that's sort of where Lachlan's thinking as well.
May also be thinking that if he can just throw the tow hook onto the back of Kemp, he might be able to follow him through and get ahead of Cecil, and perhaps he's just realising that at some stage Kemp's going to get him anyway. But
also just had Braxton into the pits.
Yeah, so he did drop 1.5 seconds behind Cheese at the back end of that last lap there. But yeah, he's in the pits. Where's Termo in all this equation? Termo's not close. Well, he's coming up to the final corner. Termo's going to get him. So Termo's just coming out of the final corner. Braxton Stankoff just about getting to the control line, right where those cones and lights are, and there's Termo right there. So Termo gets the job done in that sense. But will we see others in, or will we see some failures, or will we see people just hold on by the skin of their teeth here? Lots of questions to be answered in these final couple laps here. But Cheese now can just cruise. He's got a 7-second lead over Kemp. So Kemp's got ahead of Matt Cecil. And we haven't seen that, so we'll just cut to a replay. So he got the move done into turn 1 there, and Cecil now starting to fall once again into the clutches of Lockie Lock. And Lock is close enough for a move here. All he's got to do is pull it up at turn 1. Cecil gives him the space. Not going to be able to do the crisscross. And Lock gets the job done for the final spot on the podium, but can their tyres last is the question. Just having a look. Termo's got himself up into 13th spot as Brian Walsh gets himself lapped by Lock and Cecil.
Just like he's not dropping back from him massively, Matt Cecil, on Lock and Lock, but I feel maybe Matt's thinking a little bit more conservative with his tyres at this stage, opposed to Lock and Lock, who's maybe still going to try and have a swing at second on the podium. He's got just over a lap left, so I'm not sure he's going to quite be able to get to Kempy in this lap unless Kempy has some tyre issues. But yeah, about this point in the last race, we're starting to see those tyre problems come up. A couple of drivers we won't see that for, obviously Termo and Braxton Stankoff.
1 minute 10.6 for Cheese on that last lap, so lap time
so
gone out of it.
He's really conserving, and Matt Cecil just pitted as well, so he was not going to make another lap on those tyres.
I don't understand why you'd go this long and not just put tyres on a few laps earlier than this. I don't get it. But
it must be that thing they're just not sure. And Termo's done the brilliant thing because he's pitted so early. He's managing to run 2 stints on the best light
Oh,
till
got
he's
Aiden
stopped.
off. But
Aiden off again, yeah. So he's pulled off that massive undercut and it's worked for him because the tyres have been in life. So he's sitting 12th in the race. He's gone to 11th. He's going to probably get himself just in the top 10. He's now looking to move on McLaren boss that round for 10th. And if he does that, it puts him on pole for the third race.
which not a bad move to start himself from 10th place, or first place, I should say, by finishing in 10th. Should get it done, but yellow flags are out in the next session because Aiden's just putting around on the grass there. So
Termo, don't make the pass. Termo, don't make the pass.
So Aiden
Good man.
just trying to keep out of the way, but it's affecting the racing here. So Gary Neville, the two race cars duking it out. Sorry about that. We've got Cheese has come home and taken the win. So his tyres have held on, and Kemp's fallen off the road here. So Lucky Lock's going to come home second. Coxie is going to come home an unlikely third. And Darren Kemp there, who was in second place, he's lost it in the final sector. He had 2 corners to go, and he's done it. He's just looped it. So Kemp home in 4th, Freakish home in 5th place, with Thrower home in 6th, Ricardo home in 7th, and looks like he's actually got a tyre failure because there's smoke coming from one of his right side tyres there, so he just made it home. Higginson home in 8th place after surviving the big wreck on the home stretch. Termo coming home in 9th, and then we have Gary Neville in 10th. Zach Brown couldn't hold on to 10th place. He finished 11th. Justin Cecil home in 12th, and Maxon Stancliffe home in 13th. And what the hell has happened at the end of the race there?
No, I saw. I think it was.
Well, that's Matt Cecil, and it's something that drivers aren't meant to be doing, deliberately driving into each other in the race. And Braxton Stancliffe home in 13th, ahead of Steve Warwick and Matt Cecil. Typeburn home in 16th place, and we have Josh Watson home in 17th, Walsh home in 18th, and Aiden 2 laps down in 19th, with Woods and Kokai both non-finishers.
So I'm interested to see how that goes. Yeah, I imagine Damon not happy, so that will definitely gets looked at afterwards. And yeah, both the newbies out. One of them with a disconnect. One of them with the deadest car I think we've seen in a long time. You'd have to go back to I think the last one we saw a car flipped, which was 2019 Amos Oz Super 2 round at Townsville was the last time we saw a car about as dead as his car was looking.
Well, in terms of accident size, I don't think I've actually... I think the last time there was an accident comparable would be when Matt Cecil hit the fence at Sandown on the inside there. I can't remember. I don't think... Oh, no, he may have taken someone out with him. I can't remember, but he was letting someone go. But that's the only real comparable accident that I remember off the top of my head. It wasn't a rollover, but it was certainly a big crash.
The only crash that we could compare that wasn't, I don't think there was a rollover involved, but it was Billy Dougal Salonga and Mitch Hathaway at Phillip Island. A similar kind of thing, I suppose. And part of that, what made that crash so big was it was something that we didn't see coming. It was just the merging of the racing lines of the two cars and then the wall, and it just
I think that one there at Phillip Island. I think one of them lost it coming out of the final corner.
Yep. One of them lost coming out of the last corner and came across the track into his teammate and pardon me. Yeah. I remember stories that they were both housemates at the time, and I think they couldn't discuss the racing for a week afterwards because it was a sore spot. And yeah,
it's a massive smash.
It was it was not a good crash anyway for them to be teammates at the time. It really didn't go down well.
They weren't in too bad a position in that race either, from what I recall either. They were both running in the top 10, so...
Yep, they were.
Yeah, no good. And they're both DNFs on the spot, so... Hopefully we don't see a repeat of any of those kinds of accidents here in race number 3, but it just goes to show that, things can go a little bit, awry, and you get away with it, or various people get away with it. And there's other times where slight innocent nudge turns into Tenerife times 10. So that's what we had last time, unfortunately. But in the break sometimes.
Yeah. So hopefully that's the first and only incident of that nature we see tonight. I saw a couple little bits of Biff and Barge in that second race. I think it was just just a bit of hard racing. Obviously nothing to that scale. But no, for the most part, ignoring that one, we had some pretty clean racing tonight, which is pretty good. I did note at the start of the first race, anyone who'd watched the supercars race here, hopefully hadn't taken any notes from that. And while it wasn't technically illegal, I personally don't believe Van Gisbergen's move into turn one at the first lap was all that sportsmanlike. I appreciate it's a hard track to pass that, but you don't win generally in racing by being the first at turn one.
Roddy, I've seen enough Formula One races to know that first into turn one does decide a lot of races. So, supercars as well of recent years. So
true. I think it is a stretch to call F1 and recent supercars racing when it's closer to a 50 parade laps back on back, and being whoever has the fastest pit stop. Of a side note, actually, something I'm interested to get your take on, which I'm pretty sure you already delivered at some point today. What's your thoughts on F1 essentially mandating a minimum pit stop time?
I haven't read that today because I unfollow all the motorsport channels on social media because they just have a lot of morons commenting on them. So that's quite. I don't like that. So I'm gonna hazard a guess that they've done that for safety, Rody. If
the argument is for safety, but it's interesting that they bring it up in the mid-pack of the season, and one of the teams that's going to affect the most, just based on their pace in pit stops over the last few years, is Red Bull.
Yeah, very interesting that Mercedes start losing, and then all of a sudden pit stops that are under 2 seconds are unsafe. So, I'd have to
stops, flexible rear wings, everything else everyone else they can throw at it. They're finally not winning a season, and somebody's throwing a tantrum.
Yeah, so look, I don't want to diverge too much from ASR stuff, but those that know me know that I'm a bit of a Formula One fanatic. So seeing that kind of stuff, I guess it's not to be, not to be unexpected that once Mercedes did start losing and do start losing, that they do start to bring out the old rule book and start having a look at stuff that they can penalise the team that they're finally racing. So I know in the past that Ferrari have been competitive in 2017 and 18, but Mercedes overall had the better cars, as much as some people would like to say that they had a better car than Mercedes. But I think this is the first genuine chance that a team other than Mercedes in the hybrid era has a chance of beating them. Because not only have they got a driver that's at least on par with Lewis, they've also got a team that's better than Mercedes. Because a lot of people forget the early days of the hybrid era where Mercedes had a number of mistakes in pit stops and strategy, but they got away with it because their car was a second and a half faster than everybody else's. So now that it's all even again, we're starting to see just some cracks appear, and got a lot of unhappy people there with Valtteri Bottas and his current saga sort of taking place as well. But minimum pit stop times in Formula One I am completely against in local racing or endurance racing, particularly at maybe Le Mans and GT endurance events. I'm perfectly fine with there being a minimum pit stop time, especially a minimum pit stop time where there's refueling. But in the case of Formula One, I am completely against it, and I am I actually can't believe they actually implemented something like that with there not being refueling anymore. So whoever decided that rule, I hope they're out of a job and living in a dumpster in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, it's interesting to see where some of the management are sort of going, but we're not going to sit here and talk about it too much. Otherwise, we would be here for the next half an hour on our Bolton Car Motorsports, and yeah, we're not far off of the start of the third race of the night.
Yeah, so grid has been set, so here's some people doing some practice starts, some does in the background. So I'll just run quickly through what the top 10 is going to be. So Gary Neville will start from pole position with Termo starting from second. Nathan Higginson will start in third place with Ricardo starting in fourth. Peter Thrower, will start in fifth place with Freakish in sixth. Kemp will start seventh. Coxie will start in eighth with Lockie Lock in ninth. And of course, Cheese, our race 2 winner, will start in 10th place. But 30 seconds left here in the warm-up. Number of drivers practicing their starts. And we've had 2 clean runs on the first lap from what we've seen so far, Rody, and particularly into turn 1. It's been fairly clean with no major incidents. I think in this third race, we've seen it in the past where we've had a couple of clean runs. That's generally when we see people getting a little bit more aggressive, and we can see some incidents into turn 1 where it's been clean all night long beforehand.
Yeah, we're interested to see how one driver will be interested to watch, and we've seen some other drivers do it before. Francis Tankley has been a good example in the first race, how he came up through the field. Obviously, it was not quite challenging for a win at the end of it, but had a good pace. We're interested to see how Damon Woods goes, starting off with not quite the back row. Xavier Kokai will have the back spot, but starting off the last 4 over the grid. How much of his drive up through the field is a measured approach, and how much of it is just throw things at the wall and hope they stick. Being a real life racer, he will at a core value have a respect for those around him. That we like to think all drivers will have, regardless, but especially real life, where you make contact with someone, there is actually a financial or even a physical cost involved in that. But I'm interested in watching him come up through the field and see how he goes. And we've had it's been good racing, but it's been very hard to sort of call what happened because there's been accidents, there's been tyre blowouts, there's just been changes in pace, different strategies. It's good racing, but it's been very hard to call the last 2 races as to saying who's going to finish where. So see how this third race goes.
2 different winners so far tonight, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 3 different winners from the 3 races tonight. So got a number of drivers that are slightly out of position as the formation lap now underway. And Rody, why don't you run us through the grid here for the final race here from Hidden Valley Raceway?
Alrighty, so starting off on pole after finishing 10th, just to the back end of that second race is Gary Neville in the Raise Energy Commodore, with Termo recovering through the field after a pit stop to finish 9th and start 2nd. Nathan Higginson will be starting 3rd in the number 34 GRM car with Dane Ricardo in 4th. Pete Thrower starting from 5th in this third race with Freakish in the drive Nissan in 6th. Darren Kemp starting from 7th in the Castrol Nissan with Daniel Cox behind in 8th. Lockie Lock in 9th in the first of the Penske Falcons with Keys in 10th. McLaren box Zach Brown starting from 11th in the Raise Energy Falcons with Justin Cecil in 2nd of the Penske Falcons in 12th. Paxton Stanker starting from 13th. Hopefully his working his pit strategy will start looking a little sooner if he plans on stopping in this third race with Steve Warwick in 14th, Craig Lowndes himself. Matt Cecil in 15th, not where he wants to be starting, and again, same to him, needs to be stopping sooner if he plans on stopping at all in this race, with Taipan in 16th. Josh Watson, #NotLast, starting from 17th, a good run for him so far this weekend, with Brian Walsh in 18th. Aiden starting from 19th in the Plus Fitness Nissan, with Damon Woods starting from 20th. The long race ahead for him with Xavier Kokai. It's almost essentially a DNS from the first race. Got barely a lap in before a disconnect. Hopefully his computer can hold up a little better as he starts from 21st on the grid.
Yeah, so those guys got a bit of work to do, but those guys do have a little bit of pace. We did see Kokai in the first race at least make up a number, I think it was 6 or 7 spots on the first lap in that one. So expect him to make a few spots up. And once again, Gary Neville has actually knocked the wheel there and he's rolling forward. So he's going to get a jump start penalty. And he's just decided to just gun it at the end. So unfortunate for Gary Neville. So he's going to have a little bit of a lead. Should have gunned it a little bit earlier just to have a bit bigger of a lead. But it looks like they're 3-4 wide there. As Ricardo looking to make a move onto Termo into turn 1. And the GRM car's also having a look, and they're 2-3 wide as they go through. And Gary Neville's gone off. He's going to come on just in front of the rest of the pack. And looks like they've all managed to live there, which after Gary Neville going off, I wasn't expecting. As you see, Freakish having a look at Lockie Lock. 2 Red Bulls are side by side as well. Ricardo leads, Higginson second, then we have Termo, Kemp, Cox, and then Lock with 2 Red Bulls there, Matt Cecil, and Cheese, Gary Neville, Warwick, Cecil, Justin, Kokai, and we've got Damon Woods around at the hairpin, and once again, he's going to have to fight his way back through the field.
Yeah, trying to make Gary Neville jump start there. His best approach would have been, I forget the driver's name at this point in time, but the driver in the V8 Utes at Phillip Island who completely stuffed up the start and just went for it. That would have been the best approach. He would have mitigated 10-second stop go, but he could have done something about that. But no, Gary, very honourable, respectful driver. I think he's going to pull in the pits this lap, and he will be to serve his 10-second stop go. That's going to put him right to the back. Unfortunate for Gary, but yeah, no, actually not too much more to say about that. Damon Woods, yeah, down to 20th. You're going up to 19th now. But a long race for him as well, having to fight through. And that first lap would have been his best chance to make a lot of passes with all the cars put together. Coming back to the front of the field, though, currently Dane Ricardo leading with Nathan Higginson in second and Termo sitting in third.
Yeah, those guys are battling it out here. Both of them right out sideways. Excellent. I think it's turn 5 there. And turn 4. Behind them, we've also got Coxie and Kemp duking it out. And they're just ahead of this massive battle from Cheese on down. Cheese, Braxton Stancliffe, Peter Thrower, Matt Cecil, Lachlan Lock, Steve Warwick, aka Craig Lowndes, Justin Cecil, and Xavier Kokai all locked in this massive battle train. It's not a pack, it is a train. But Cheese now has got himself ahead of it, and I would expect him to drive away from those guys. But there's going to be a bit of slipstreaming going on with these guys, and Cecil's got a good run out of the final corner. Matt Cecil, that is, as well as Steve Warwick as well. As Termo has a look further down the road, or up the road. Peter throw a little bit wide there. Matt Cecil's going to try and put the nose in, but he can't quite make it stick, can't quite have the overlap. He's going to have to be back out of that. Same with Steve Warwick a little bit further back. Cecil having a look. Thrower, defensive. Warwick showing the nose up the inside there. Can't quite get the job done. And now Thrower, defensive into the hairpin. Matt Cecil's going to try and go around the outside. He's not going to get that done. And a little bit further back, a little bit of a lock-up between, I think that was Justin Cecil and Kokai there as well. It's on for young and old here. And I've also got Braxton Stancliffe looking to make a move on Freakish. Freakish may have even got ahead of him there. As I think Cheese was the leader of that group with the Red Bulls. As Freakish makes a mistake there. And he's going to allow probably 2, maybe even 3 cars go here. As Thrower look to get a job done, and Matt Cecil might bump draft his way past as well.
Yeah, free wide. I think the time decided without communication that they're going to do a bump draft. Matt's backing off though to make sure he doesn't fire pit throw into the sand at turn 1. No, actually, yeah, Freakish turn wide, but he didn't actually lose any spots there. He's still up around the outside.
Oh, Steve Warwick's around, and so's Taipan as well in the background. So I'll just cut to a replay here. Let's see what I think Steve may have just gassed it up a little bit too much on the exit. Fortunately, he has done so. But Taipan, what has he done? Yeah, he's just run too wide and lost it as well. So Taipan to the back. Sorry to cut you off there, Rody. But Ricardo in the lead. He's 2.3 seconds ahead of Higginson. He's doing a really good job at the moment. But he's driving smoother than what we're than what we're used to here. And Termo unable to get by here. And Coxie's actually made a move on Kemp here and got himself into 4th place, I believe. So Kemp just showing nose down the pit straight, but not really close enough to make a move. Just trying to force a mistake from Coxie. A little bit further back, Cheese has actually caught onto the back of these guys pretty quickly, and Braxton Stancliffe has gone with him. They've now got a bit of a gap now to Cheese. Oh, sorry, Freakish. It's Freakish train here, and Matt Cecil looking at by Peter Thrower.
Yeah, so 5 cars right at the moment behind and including Freakish. Actually, I think we've got David Kirkine. I don't know, Damon Woods at one point, but we have a couple of cars at the back end trying to get in this as well. And it has diffused a little bit, and it's a double-edged sword, these nasty battle packs that we get in battle trains. Is the more cars you get into them, the more racing there is, and it comes to some really good racing to watch. But you always worry that something's going to boil over a little bit. Luckily, we haven't seen that so far. And it seems to settle down to a nice medium point between action and just nice, clean, safe driving. And yeah, 5 car train at the moment. Freak is just making a little bit of a breakaway on Pete Thrower. So they're all starting to drag away from each other down this straight, and the slipstream not quite kicking in, not until right the bowman of the straight has it, where it's coming out of turn 1.
Oh, and it looks like Coxie's made a mistake on that last lap because he's lost position to Kemp, and now he's under fire from Cheese. So that's not ideal for the championship battle. And Cheese now sort of defending and attacking at the same point there to turn 4. And again into the hairpin, having a look, but doesn't have an overlap. Cox takes the corner. And again, that's allowing Freakish to close up onto the back of this battle pack here. So Coxie just struggling a little bit, and he needs to have a nice clean lap here, otherwise he'll never see the back of Kemp down the road again, unless he makes a mistake. There's a big dive up the inside of the final corner for Cheese. Both going to have compromised runs here, and one of the best run here is going to be Braxton Stancliffe. He's sort of had to get out of it a little bit, and he's actually cost himself just a little bit of momentum. In fact, he's lost all that momentum as Cheese again shows the nose into turn 1. He's going to go deep. Brad's going to try and go with him, but he's given Coxie a nudge, and I wouldn't advise on trying to take that position after that because it was a hefty hit. And it looks like he's just
he had seen that, and that was smart driving. They look very ambitious trying to follow him through.
Well, that said, he's going to send it the next corner, which again he has gained a bit of an advantage out of that. But
I'd argue he'd back off and clear the gap and let it redress. Although if it comes to it, the stewards, another I think I've got a pass in the background from Pete Thrower. Being past the one we did miss actually. Termo got up past Evan Higginson in the lap prior to this at some point, and he's now starting to try and make some inroads on Dane. Dane, the second fastest driver of the night so far. So Termo's best lap so far is he was setting some really nice laps in the second race session on those fresh softs and the lower fuel tank, but obviously he won't be able to do quite the same pace here. So probably just trying to give himself a bit of a maybe trying to clear himself out a bit of a margin behind some over the cars behind that might come through, drivers like Cheese and Kempy.
So what a move here for this is 10th place here. For 10th place between Locke and Matt Cecil, side by side for the first sector they go. And, for a moment there, Cecil's going to climb the curve and lose control there, but he's kept it going. And actually a little bit further ahead, looks like Kemp is, he's certainly not as quick as what Cheese is, because Cheese is already up the back of Darren Kemp already. Problem though for Cheese is that he's going to have to be a second a lap faster than Ricardo at the back end of this race, but he has had pretty good pace in this race. It's just he's not had clear air to really show it. So for the championship, Termo and Ricardo will be hoping that Cheese and Braxton Stancliffe can get by. He's got a little bit of a run here. He has got the slipstreams. Ricardo sets the fastest lap of the race. But Cheese showing the nose, and he's going to get alongside. He's going to get the job done. A little bit of rubbing between the two. Braxton Stancliffe's going to take both of them with those two battling. Braxton says, thank you very much. And I'll take that. And now it's his job to be the pioneer and try and get ahead. Kemp trying to get that position back straight away. Braxton sees it coming, immediately goes defensive, and now they're all losing time. And all attacking and defending, and Braxton's late on the brakes. He's deep, he's wide. And again, just chopping the nose a little bit on the exit there of Kemp. But all live to fight another day. But Braxton now hasn't got a car in front of him. Looks like he's just lost his rhythm a little bit, and he's going to have to focus here, otherwise he'll find himself back down a couple of spots. But this final sector has done a much better job. We've got a car in the pits. It's Termo again. So that's his strategy all night long. He's just getting to the halfway point and pitting. So that once again elevates Nathan Higginson up into second place. Higginson 5.8 seconds off the lead, and all that battling has cost this battle pack for third of Stancliffe, Kemp and Cheese. It's cost them that last lap a good second and a half, 2 seconds.
Yeah, so I want to give credit to Braxton for his move at turn one the lap previous, because words and they're not coming. No, opportunistic moves very rarely pay off, because you go for a dive when a door opens, and that door isn't actually open, and you end up making a really big mess. But he was good there. He sat back and he took what was a pretty regular line through the corner. It just happened to work out for him. He just managed to switch the car properly and get that pass done. He did have to then defend from Kempy at the back end of that lap just to make sure he kept it. But that was a good way to get past the pair of them and take advantage of the fact they were racing each other, and he completely forgot that he was there. And no, that was some really good heads-up driving from Braxton, and he's got some pace potentially over the two behind, but not sure it's enough. And I think the next car he's got a chance of catching potentially is Nathan Higginson.
Yeah, so here you go, 4 seconds or so up the road, but there is time to make that gap up. With of course, tyres will be going off these guys that don't pit, but we did see Braxton having to pit on the last lap in race 2, so he may have to just back off now that he's got himself into a podium position, and make sure, as you see a big dive from Cheese at the hairpin there. So we've got to replay, have a bit of a squeeze at that one. So a big dive, and really contact between the two, between Cheese and Kemp. Stay from one of these guys here. They could lose a number of spots here. So tyre life is going to be crucial for these guys in the final 6 laps of this race. With from Braxton Stancliffe on down, 7 seconds, and you're down in 11th.
Yeah, on a side note, just to keep track of some of the guys we were looking for through the field. Damon Woods obviously a spin very early on in that race. He was already back up to 12th though. He is a good 5 seconds off the back of the next car, Justin Cecil though. And Termo has exited back into 15th spot. He is making
5.6, so that's the fastest lap of them. That's the fastest lap of any race that they've had.
It is, yes. That's only half a second off of the best time in practice as well. So that's not bad running in race pace with race fuel. So Termo is definitely in the groove, and that's something he's pulled away from Xavier Kokai. I think it's starting to struggle with his tyres. He's got 10 seconds to the next car in Taipan though, and he's pulling out some time, but I'm not quite sure. So I'll have a look at. Actually, no, he might get that. Actually, Taipan's last lap was a 107.7. Actually, the cars in front are all 107.7s. Even up to the leaders, their last lap was 107.7's the best. I think last lap was a 106.5 from Braxton Stancliffe outside of Termo's pace. So it's a bit of a big gap at the moment, but I think as these tyres start to age further for the guys around him, Termo is going to start popping up through the field as well.
Well, he's going to need a lot of luck. There's a lot of time between himself and what is this big battle for 8th place between Matt Cecil and Peter Thrower. We've been swapping positions last half a lap here. Oh, and a bit of a slide there in the exit for Thrower. Matt Cecil says, I'll take that. And Lucky Lock will be looking on and hoping to nab both of them here. Also got Coxie and Freakish a little bit further up the road, duking it out as well. Braxton Stancliffe further down the road in the battle for second. He's got the gap to 1.6 seconds. But of course, we did see him, as mentioned earlier, pit on at the start or the end of the penultimate lap. We got Matt Cecil in, so he's gone and decided, instead of pitting on the end of the penultimate lap last time and having no time to make up time, he's going to box now and give himself a few laps to at least make up a little bit of time and use those fresh tyres. But of course, he will lose out plenty of track position. And now it's Lucky Locke's turn to try and get by Thrower.
No.
Oh.
I was about to talk about the battle in watching the last lap, and it unfortunately just pulled over. Cheese has been up the back of Darren Kemp for a good part. Kempy nearly average reader on as well. He's been up the back of Kempy for the past couple of laps. He was almost had that move done through the hairpin the last lap through, but Kemp just managed to hold him off. Cheese a little late under brakes up under Kempy's rear wing into the right hand before the hairpin, and it speared right into the back of him and put Kempy into the fence. He's trying his best. I hope Cheese is planning on redressing this at some point. That said, he's probably trying to balance out between giving Kempy back to the position and losing it to the cars behind, but he's losing opportunity, and Pete Thrower actually I'm not sure if he was helped or just got on the curb a bit and gassed the rear up, but Pete Thrower into the wall of the drag strip next to the last corner as well.
And just having a look, no, he dropped that on his own, so there's a gap in front and behind, and he's just coming right in front of Termo there. So Termo now back up to 12th place, but he's got a lot of time to find, even to Taipan a little bit further down the road. So both the Penske cars together, and once again Cheese and Kemp back at it. And Kemp not giving Cheese any room at all, and Cheese really not too happy about that one. A bit further down the road though, battle for second is raging as well. There's a bit of a slide there for Braxton Stancliffe as he comes down the hill towards the final corner, and that's compromised his run on the pit straight. So only a few laps to go now, and who's got the tyres left to make it to the end, and who's got the tyres left to at least challenge the cars that they're battling with, is the question. I do reckon Daniel Cox has probably been driving a little bit more conservative than what we'd normally expect. We would expect him much closer to the front end of the field. He's just holding off Freakish at the moment, but again, big battle here for 6th place. With Cheese and Kemp again is not quite on line there, having to sort of defend into the hairpin. Cheese is going to try and go the long way. And with these rear tyres being as worn as they are, they're driving on eggshells at the moment. But can Cheese find a way by? His best bet's into turn 1. He's going to have a good run through the final corner. There he's just trying to set it up, but the car in front of Kemp just caught him at an awkward point, and he had to go a little bit wider than what he would have liked, and it's going to cost him a bit of time here. So he's got 2 laps to go. He's flashing lights. He's not happy. He just needs to calm down here.
Yeah, and some of the things that can happen when you race against a driver who I'm not sure how much of what Darren's driving at some point in this race is still within the bounds of legality, but he is known as one of the hardest drivers to pass. I think second only to Tyrone Netherelmian. But he is an incredibly hard driver to pass when he wants to be, and he knows where to legally put the car to make it hard to pass as much. And it can be intensely frustrating with the car behind. And I've seen this before. With the car behind to try and get past someone who knows where to put the block on legally and make it impossible for you to pass. We mentioned earlier with I think it was Dane's massive dive trying to get past Kempy in the second race, that you've got to do something a little out of the box to try and get a pass done on Kempy when he doesn't want you to pass. And I think that's what we're seeing. And no, I think exactly it. Cheese needs to just put the head down. He doesn't have long left in the race. At the same time, he needs to think smart about this. He could maybe go for a pass. And
here's his chance. Kemp had a bad run. He had a slide coming out of the final corner. Had Kokai in front of him also getting it right outside base. And now Cheese, he's got the overlap. He is ahead. He's just got to pull it up at turn 1 and then hold on for dear life. And does he pull it up? He does, and he might just hold.
Ooh,
Oh, and
no.
I'm not sure if he lost it there if there was contact. Just cut to it. Just a squeeze. Replay here. No.
They were pushing very hard into the corner, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was just running at the limit of grip.
Yeah, I think he lost it on his own there. So Kemp, out of all that, he's going to hold on. But he does have some guys to deal with. A little bit further ahead, Ricardo's coming out of the last corner. He's going to win here. Race number 3. But all eyes are on a number of positions here. So out of the last corner comes Higginson. Braxton Stancliffe right out sideways. He's got no rear tyres left, but Higo is going to come home and, well, he's going to nab his best result of the season. And a very handy podium for him in this one. Braxton Stancliffe home in 3rd place. Then we have Coxie home in 5th ahead of Freakish. And then a drag to the line, but Kemp will hold on with Lock in 7th. Justin Cecil home in 8th. Zach Brown will come home in 9th place. Taipan home in 10th. Termo home in 11th. And Peter Throwers just nabbed 12th ahead of Cheese there. So I did see Cheese off in the background.
Tyre.
And yeah, having a look at this replay here, and yeah, he's definitely ran out of tyre here on the last lap. So he's home in 13th ahead of Matt Cecil in 14th, who elected to pit and has now decided to roll his car.
Yeah.
And then Steve Warwick home in 15th place. Not a good night for him. With Josh Watson home in 16th. Gary Neville home in 17th. Kokai home in 18th. Walsh home in 19th position, with Damon Woods and Aiden both non-finishers in race number 3. Alrighty,
Wow.
3 very interesting races.
Yeah, and I don't know whether it's well, no, I was gonna say full moon, but full moon normally tends to create really violent racing rather than unpredictable racing. But I don't know, it's just something in the water up here maybe up in the Northern Territory. But like and the key point and the crux of that is Higginson, who has obviously not had the best of weeks. Started off for him Tuesday with actually a doubleheader, both losing 5th in the Minis Championship to me by I think 3 points in the end. He wasn't happy with that, and then with his hard drive troubles later that same night, came in tonight and was not feeling good about it at all. To come out in the end and finish 2nd, obviously a good start helps in some time management, but it's not something that I saw coming at any point tonight. No, we had 3 very different races, and they almost feel like they don't belong to the same round, or even possibly the same grid / same series, because there's one race it was the quickest guy, one race it was the guy who just sort of got lucky and got away at the front, other races it was just whoever managed their tyres the best, and it feels weird for them all to be on the same night.
Well, I guess that's sort of what you want with this kind of racing. You want 3 vastly different races, and we got it. So, some good battling up and down the field, some hard racing, some interesting racing. We'll leave it at that, and certainly, some unexpected results, and it's good to see, some guys pick up some of the best results of the season here as well. That, particularly Nathan Higginson, he's not really had a good week, but at least he's able to finish it on a bit of a high there with 2nd place there in race 3. So some good racing, and the tyres, big factor, with some people not knowing when to pit, some people deciding to pit, and some people hoping that they'd last.
Yeah, and we saw a wide variety of players, people at the start who, at the start of the night, who were ruining being on either not the hards or just ruining being on the wrong tyre for their strategy. And I'm interested to know how many people actually played the hards after that first race, because as we've improved almost time and time again, races that you feel like you can't make on softs, drivers can make it on softs just with a little bit of tyre conservation. And the fact we saw a couple of blowouts meant that, I think a good part of the field, if not majority of the field, was on softs. But yeah, uh, we're almost. I think we've all but maybe one or two rounds so far this season have made it look like the hard tire is a little redundant.
Yeah, it's have been a little bit redundant. I think the change of race lengths as well as the tyre wear factor has been something that has made it a little bit more different compared to the summer series. But I'm surprised, some people that did elect to pit didn't just run on the hard tyre because they would have overall been much further ahead. Obviously, the hard tyre's not as fun to drive on, and I know that's the reason why a number of people decide to just drive on the soft tyre and pit. But yeah, I think if they were thinking maybe in Termo's case of the championship, maybe just racing on the hard tyre, knowing that the tyre could make it to the end, even if you are a second a lap or second and a half lap slower, you'd end up in a better position because when you did pit off the lead, each time was about 43, 44 seconds off the race leader. And, if you're running around a second a lap slower in an 18 lap race, I mean, that's a good 10 seconds or 15 seconds that, you're saving by not pitting. So maybe something that, obviously these guys, I think, maybe just going for a little bit more fun and enjoyment as opposed to the strategy game. But have got the updated point standings. Of course, these are just provisional at this stage. Of course, we will have to go through any potential penalties and stuff like that to sort it out. But it was actually even for the first two races between Kemp and Cox in the championship standings. Well, not even on points, but even over the round, with both drivers picking up 94 and 91 points in the first two races. But that final race, bit of a hand there for Daniel Cox there. He's able to pick up a few extra points there on his championship rival. So he's closed 6 points to the good to Darren Kemp and finds himself now 13.47, plays 13.17. So he's getting there, but he's going to need a little bit of extra help. Termo, though, he's dropped a fair amount of points tonight compared to those guys with his strategy. And Dane's moved a little bit. Well, he's now right behind Termo, only 12 points behind him. Alright, well, looks like we've got pretty much everyone in here. Rody, why don't you lead us off with the interviews?
Yeah, I think this actually, just looking at the numbers, this might be the most varied group we've had across rounds so far. We've got nearly the maximum potential amount of people. We've got 8 people in the box, so we're going to be here a little while. Um,
One question per driver.
where to start? Yeah, it's going to be something like that. I'm going to start with our debutante, first time in ASR, first race with ASR, and first race on the podium as well. Damon Woods, welcome to ASR, mate. How was your first race weekend?
No, it was good fun. I just came here with Xavier just to have a good bit of fun. Not to take it too seriously. Um, I wasn't expecting to be that quick, especially considering how Dane's been fast from looking at the results this season. But no, the racing was good. Racing the first race was awesome between Dane. It's just unfortunate the tires went off by the end of it. But yeah, second race, this I was going to call that a racing incident. There was just two cars racing for position, and race three, unfortunately, I didn't have a button assigned to change my fuel, so I couldn't keep going. I underfueled the car before the start of the race, so yeah, no, but all in all, good experience, and be back for the next round.
Awesome. That was going to be my next question. Yeah, so you are planning on coming back and making a few more races this season?
Yeah, if I can make the rest of the season, that'll be great.
Awesome. No, it'd be good to see you up there, and I will say welcome to the club of roadies fuel numbers. You'll understand that they didn't joke as you spend some more time here, but no, you're not the first under fuel in Super 2, and you won't be the last. And looks like another one for my fuel numbers book. But no, great to see you and Xavier jumping in tonight, mate. And I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll catch you next round.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Cool. We're going to swing next to Daniel Cox. Nice consistent race weekend for you there, Coxie. 2 fourths and a third. How'd the weekend go from where you were sitting?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's something fishy with the track for me. Like I was getting pretty bad lag drops. Basically, it was like I was being cautious because I was trying to average 106, high 106 as a lap, and basically I'd just get to like some sections of the corners and I'd sort of just roll off because I was dropping down a lot. But other than that, I don't know what happened in the first race. I was just like nowhere. And then I look at the screen and now I'm third, and I have no idea what happened there. And yeah, and I was just trying to keep my tires alive because you need to keep basically every tire shred. I had a good race with Freakish at the last race because I have no tires for this. But, I think he managed his tires better than I did, and yeah, unfortunately, I didn't want to. I was burning up my. I was having a good battle. I went, look, I've been nowhere. I want to have a good battle with Camp. I want to have fun. And I was battling well, and then the frame started dropping, and I went, I was averaging like 0.65 a lap tire dig, and I went, I won't be able to keep that up. So I just sort of waved the white flag, and I went, oh, maybe Cheese will take him out, jokingly to myself, and unfortunately that did happen. So bad luck for them. But anyway, this commentary booth's packed, so I'll let you guys move along.
Awesome. No, good to see you, Campy, and a good night for your championship hopes. And good luck, and we'll see you next round. Alrighty. Next person, I think I'll go to somebody who didn't expect to see themselves here today, and I'll have to go for a second to find your results, Lachlan. But is that your first podium in Super 2?
Yep, that is my first podium for Super 2 in a supercar.
And I suppose this comes nicely off the back of your results in the Minis Championship. You've been up the pointy end there as well. Was that sort of momentum that carried through for you, or I don't know, did just everything just fall in place for you there in that race?
Yeah, we were working on strategy mostly in the race, working with Kempy and Cecil, trying to not fight each other for most of the race, trying to conserve tyres till the end, and it worked out for me in the end. Unfortunately, Cecil and Kempy weren't able to make it to the end, but hopefully this is an insight to the rest of the season.
Yeah, that'll be good. So that's outside of your second 2/7, but it's still a pretty good result. I think it's your best average weekend of the season so far, and you're right. If this is a clue to where your season's going, you're going to see yourself climb up to the points. You're currently sitting in 11th, but a couple more good results, and you can probably possibly jump up into that top 10.
Yep, that's the goal.
Awesome. Good to see you. Good to see you in here tonight, Lockie, and good luck for next round.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Speaking of people we didn't expect to see here, and an awesome assessment, I think, from his end based on where his week had gone so far. Here you go. Second in that third race. I think after the week you've had, that feels pretty good.
As an understatement, it feels pretty good. With the way the week had gone, especially with start of the week ASC and the lackluster results that I had there, I wasn't really expecting anything to come out of tonight. And then obviously, as you've pointed to before, drive issues, which that just compounded, and stressful week at work. I wasn't really, come into this with less than, 10, 15 laps of practice. I wasn't really expecting to be anywhere near the front. But I knew the tyres could do the whole race without a stop. There's a couple of changes I could make, within the means of the fixed setup that maximise that tyre life. And I think it was just once I realised where I was as part of that reverse grid, I just, calmed down, calmed my breathing, and just concentrated on each apex, hitting that, and, just occasional checks of tyre wear down the straight, seeing how much I was losing per lap and whether I'd have enough to finish off. Early on, battling Termo, I think once I once I realised that, you know, the tyre saving that I was doing was getting a bit too close to the, you know, 4th and 5th place, I thought, you know, I'm just going to wave the white flag and let him pass when he next shows the nose. And I was able to hold that, and I guess it was just I was playing the long game, as when he pitted, I was able to hold second from that point till the end of the race.
Yeah, I was about to mention that. So I'm guessing you hadn't sort of clued into the fact that Termo was stopping in those second 2 races. You were just thinking the long game, and it was more just fortuitous for you that Termo was pitting in as well in that 3rd race.
I guess I had heard that he was pitting. Like in the 2nd race, I heard that he pit, and I saw his name go down the order as I passed the pits. But I think in the 3rd race, I thought he may have gone for a different strategy, but no, obviously I think it was just the race wasn't long enough for a stop to be viable.
Yeah. So, yeah, as we mentioned, this is a good cap off for your week, and you feel some good momentum going into the Supercars round in a week's time.
There's all the hope to keep some momentum going. I would at least hope that what I've, I guess, learnt here tonight would be a bit of a catalyst to, you know, keep my rhythm and keep my momentum going in that direction.
Awesome. Good to see you in the box tonight, Higo, and good luck for next week, mate.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Next person I think I'm going to have a chat to is Braxton Stancliffe. Braxton, if nothing else this season, you're making a really good show of coming up through the field. Unfortunately, that you need a rear grid start to do them, but at Queensland and then also in the first race here today, you've had some good runs through the field. I'm trying to put a question behind this, but yeah, how did your racing go for you?
I wasn't really sure how it would go because I hadn't done a whole lot of practice leading up to it, in all honesty. But after qualifying, I then realised I had my rear grid, so once that was added, I just sort of just went into another mind and just drove till the end of the race, seeing where I can go and whatnot. And once I got up, I think it was 6th or 7th or something, I just tried settling down, saving tyres, because by the time I got to the line, I had like 4% left, just under 4%. And that was probably the biggest struggle for me tonight, was to managing my tyres. And then, unfortunately, in the second race, me and Cheese were going for a Kiwi run too, and I had underfueled, so I had to pit, which really just made me mad. And then third race kind of was pretty good. I went from 13th to 3rd. Was trying to chase down Higo so many times and had so many opportunities, but my tyres just started to get worn and started to get a bit risky and didn't want to throw the race away, so I just settled into 3rd.
Awesome. I'll cap you there because I can hear, I know with where your time zone at, it's pretty late for you. You're sounding pretty tired. I'll let you head off, mate. But no, a good race weekend on a whole to come back and get 2 top 10s, a good haul of points, and yeah, good luck for next round.
Cheers.
Alrighty, Lewis, do you want to grab a couple?
I was quite happy reading the news, if I was perfectly honest, but I guess I could. Might as well go to one of the men at the moment. We've got Cheese here. Just trying to remember. I think we've had you in the box here before from memory. Yeah, we have.
Yep.
But yeah, very interesting night of racing for you tonight. You caught up in a lot of battles, but you're able to pick up, I think it was your first win as well there in race number 2 there. So you've had a very, very busy night, and it's been capped off by a win in the second race, but the third one didn't quite go to plan.
No, my first race was a mess as well, to be honest. I found myself in third pretty early, and I had a pretty good gap between me and fourth, and the two leaders, Dane and the new guy, Damon. They were pulling away from me, so I just thought I'd kind of try and consolidate there and keep it up. And I came up upon lap traffic, and then through no fault of theirs, I sort of lapsed in concentration, hit a curb, and went straight into the wall. Lost it, had completely ruined my car, had to go and pit, put on a new set of tyres, and then race my way back into the top 10. I was pretty happy with that, thought I'd consolidate there, and then I managed to hit another wall, and then went all the way back down to, I think it was, like 12 or 13. Managed to sneak into the 8th place for that first race, so I was pretty happy with that, but ultimately disappointed because I probably could have kept my 3rd place there. The second race was definitely a lot better. Having started on the second row with a few of the slower drivers around, I managed to put it out into first and keep it there. I had a little bit of pressure from Braxton until he lost his fuel, and then just sort of brought it home. Almost lost it at the last corner, just because I was trying to make sure I kept that gap between me and two. And then the third race was just a total mess. I ended up stuck behind Darren Kemp, and I had a bit more pace than him, and we were racing quite good for a while. But then, just in my opinion, I will let the stewards decide this, but I feel like he started moving under brakes and cutting me off, and I just couldn't get around him, and it was frustrating me for a bit. And I ended up sending him off at one corner, which was unfortunate, and I had to redress that position. And then I just was pushing the car too hard and ended up blowing a tyre right before the finish line, so dropped back down to 12th.
Yeah, we did see obviously the big battle and the tyre failure at the end. So a bit unfortunate, but still plenty of positives to take out of tonight's racing. And you find yourself 5th place in the championship standings, and about 60 points between yourself and Dane in 4th. But still, you're there in the championship hunt if you can just put a couple rounds together. Obviously, we're coming up to Calder Park next time out, and then a little bit of a break as well to Sydney, a little bit further down the road. How do you think you'd go at both Calder and Sydney down the track?
Well, I've raced them before, so judging by how I've gone this year, I'd say I'd definitely hope for a good improvement over my places last year. I'm really enjoying this whole setup, and it's come a long way, and I've obviously made some big improvements, so I'm definitely contending in the top 5. I'd like to see a few more podiums, and I've definitely got the pace for them. I've just got to sort of work on my racecraft a bit better and get those corner exits pinned down so that I can make some proper moves. And then I think I'll be hopefully up here a lot more.
No worries, and well done again on your win tonight, and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm super stoked for that first ever win, so I can't be more happy really, even though the other races didn't go to plan. Absolutely love it. Thank you guys very much.
Alright, well done there. Cheese, Gouda, Nacho. I guess there's many kinds of different cheese out there, but he gets his first win of his ASR Super 2 career. Rody, why don't you go knock us off on the next interview, please?
We'll talk to the other half of a lot of those battles for tonight then, and we'll say one of the best performances before last, Kempy.
Yeah, I'm here.
You were putting on some very defensive driving so far.
Words.
Sense again. I'm half asleep too. You're putting on some very defensive driving tonight. It paid off for you in some cases. Paid off for you. It didn't pay off for you in others. Was it something was it something that was part of a strategy, or was it just something you sort of dropped into that you had to put the elbows up so hard?
Well, yeah. First of all, thank the sponsors, Nissan Motorsport. Anyway, we'll move on. First race was all right for me. I sort of, looked after the tyres in the middle of the stint and came strong at the end. In the second race, I was in a beautiful spot. I'd run away with it. I was in second, and then I just threw it away in the last lap. I just overcooked it. But anyway, that happens. And yeah, in the third race with Cheese, I'll keep to my defence. I wasn't moving under brakes, but I always say that, so everyone has a giggle. But yeah, I can be very hard to pass because I just always park it in the middle and I slow them down on the apex. But I wasn't defending, and sort of I let him through, and then Cheese pushed me really wide, and thrower went up the inside, so that was it. He'd set up the red flag, so that's it. I just blocked him, and So I probably should have just let him through. He was quicker, but hey, sometimes the red mist, you just try and hang it in there. And in the end, he got the better of me and pushed me off. But hey, that's racing.
Yeah.
We'll have other battles along the way, so it's all good.
Exactly. I mean, still a decent race week in the end. You did lose points to Daniel Cox, but you're still ahead of the championship provisionally at this point by 30 points. So still pretty comfortably in there. Is this sort of going where you want to long term? You sort of where you wanted it to be tonight.
When I first started to lead the championship, I actually expected by the next round I'd lose it, and that was 4 rounds ago. So I'm hanging in there. I've got to be pretty damn happy about that. Everyone keeps saying Kempy, you'll lose it, and I'm still there. So you got to be happy about that.
Absolutely, mate. No, good to see, and yeah, good to see a good solid result from you. Obviously, some of it might end up discussed in the stewards room later, but no, it's a good race from where we're watching, mate, and we'll catch you again next round.
Absolutely. Thanks again, guys. You've done a great job.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cheers.
And saving the best for last, 2 race wins tonight and 3 top 10s. Not a bad result for you, Dane.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So I mean, to be fair, like I don't think it's inaccurate to say. I mean, you talked about this earlier. Your knack of winning 2 races in a weekend and throwing the third one away.
I threw the second one. I threw the second one this time.
Yeah. So, I mean, was that a throw or was that just the strategy not quite working out?
It was just an unfortunate unfortunate incident. It'll get out eventually.
I did see that. I did forget about that. I don't know how I forgot about that. We were talking about in the broadcast. It was one of the biggest ones we've seen in a little while.
It wasn't had to involve me.
Yeah. No. Aside from that, though, I saw you chatting with Damon Woods. You had a good race with him in the first race, and do you see that being a little bit of a friendly rivalry that's going to go on going on for the next few rounds, at least for the season?
Yeah, hopefully. I really enjoyed racing against Damon tonight.
Awesome. Yeah, good to see you, and good to see. Good to see. Not that you haven't had someone on your pace, but good to see someone sort of right there and to challenge you and keep you honest. And no, that's still a pretty good result. I think you're sitting 4th in the championship at the moment. Pretty good margin over Cheese, and not far off the back of Termo, who, as you saw, didn't have the best of races. So you're not in the championship lead, but you're not far off it either. That's sort of about where you want to be.
I would have liked to be a bit higher if I hadn't gotten a few penalties, but that's racing, and see what happens at the end of the season.
Yeah. Good to see you, Dane, and we'll catch you again next round.
Yeah, thanks, fellas. Can't wait.
All right, well, that just about does it here from the Australasian Sim Racing Super 2 Championship from Hidden Valley. Just go over the calendar one more time. Actually, it's the first time I've done it tonight, but of course, tonight, Hidden Valley, done and dusted, 25th of June today. That's a few weeks' time. 16th of July, if I read that correctly. It's very small on my screen, I apologise. But next round, Calder Park Raceway. Rudy, I think we'll see some very, very close racing there. There's not really many places you can make up time, not many places you can lose too much time, but compared to last time, it should look a little bit nicer than the last time we were there.
Yeah, I've seen snippets of the work you've been doing on Calder. Basically, and I talk about some restaurant news which you might have picked up on. Tony Quinn being blocked from being able to purchase Queensland Raceway and Lakeside. People suggesting that he should buy Calder. Basically, your version of the track is what it would probably look like if Tony Quinn did theoretically invest in Calder Park and bring it back to the track it should be. So, be good to see. And it has always produced some good racing. Historically, I've had some good results there. I've had some bad results there. I've called one of my best mates one of the very worst words after a turn 1 pass, and I think 2 years ago now, my Supercars team PBF, we lost 3 out of 4 cars to the tyre bundles there, but they have been fixed since, and his solution to the tyre bundles is not to run into them. But no, it's a good little track. It's one that I think would work on a modern day calendar. But yeah, unfortunately lost more or less to the annals of time at the moment, and so it's appropriate that it will be our or at least for the main game, it'll be the retro round, and hopefully we can put together some retro liveries for the Super 2 guys as well.
Yeah, we'll have to pull my finger out and start putting some of those on. There are some available, so hopefully we'll be able to get them out there to have that looking nice and retro, because it will be the retro round for the main championship, ASR Supercar Championship as well, with a number of, I've already seen a handful of the retro liveries, and they're all pretty good, so it looks like it's going to be a pretty good round in the main series, and I expect the racing in Super 2 to be quite close, so going to be a good round there. And then of course August 6th is Sydney Motorsport Park. That one, Rudy, I expect to be quite spread out, and it's a real, well, it really is going to be separated by who is the best. The best drivers win at that circuit in these cars, because, well, you can't change the setup in Super 2, and it's quite a driver circuit. You've got to, a lot of braking points that you've got to get right. You've got to get turn-in points right. You've got to come out of the corners, a number of corners quite well. Otherwise, you're going to come under threat from behind. And it's a fairly long lap compared to, pretty much every race outside of Phillip Island has pretty much been a minute long. So quite a lot longer than all the other circuits we've raced at so far this season.
And Sydney's been interesting. Sydney is I wouldn't quite say a polarizing track, but there are some people that are quite big fans of it, and then I know some people that really do not like the track either. Fortunately, one of those people, one of those, Luke Rosell. Fortunately, he's not racing in Super 2, so we don't have to deal with that. But no, it can be a somewhat decisive track. You need to get your head around it and not be able to set the car up for the track. You're gonna have to work around what you're given, and it will be prevalent for SMP, but. No, we do tend to get some decent racing there, and no, it'd be good to see SMP back on the calendar again.
Yeah, I would say that probably the next Calder Park I expect to be fairly close, and if there's no major incidents between the championship runners, things will probably stay largely as they are. But Sydney Motorsport Park is sort of lining itself up to be as well with Adelaide to a certain extent, but Adelaide's generally a little bit closer than what Sydney has been, at least in the history of AMS Oz and ASR. So SMP could turn out to be probably the most crucial round for the championship outside of the final round here, Rhodey, with, as we've seen, quite large gaps between drivers, and it's going to be all down to who puts it all together on the night, because there's a lot of places where you can make a mistake, and as we've seen, once the tyres start to fall away, it's very hard to keep these cars even on the road.
Yeah, something else I will actually, if we're talking about crucial races, and there is coming up after SMP, Adelaide, which holds a different weight now as a result of the way the calendar's formed out. Usually it's the first round of the season. If something goes wrong, it's all right. You've got time to reset and reestablish yourself in the pointy end. But now it's right near the end of the season, and street tracks, and Adelaide's one of them, can really bite. So it'll be interesting to see. It was about 2 months from now. But time is going very quickly. We'll be at Adelaide for a mid-season race, which I don't think has ever been done in the history IRL of supercars. And we're interested to see whether there's any difference of approach from drivers' point of view, that there is a lot more at risk when you're running at a track like that midway through the season.
Yeah, certainly we've seen it in other street circuits, the midway, that have been run in the mid part of the season. That can be quite crucial and quite destructive to one's championship hopes. I think Adelaide has been run as the second round of the championship on a couple of occasions when they've gone to Abu Dhabi in real life. I can't remember if it's been past the third round of the championship, but it's certainly been the second round a couple times when supercars, of course, went to the Middle East at the early part of the 2010s. But just sort of digressing off the topic there anyway. Thanks for enjoying tonight's broadcast of the ASR Super 2 Championship from Hidden Valley. Had 3 cracking races up and down the field. And, of course, catch us in a few weeks' time for the Calder Park round. But next week it will be the ASR Supercars Championship from, of course, the same circuit here at Hidden Valley. That will be on the Outworld Broadcasting channel next Friday night. But tomorrow night on the Outworld Broadcasting channel and at ASR will be the GT3 series from Interlagos. So don't forget to tune in if you're not driving to what should be a fairly interesting race there as well, with all the cars for that one seeming pretty even outside of top speed. So that should be a good one. Anyway, for myself, Lewis Wedding, and of course Benjamin Rhodey Rhodes, we'll catch you on the next one.